It's an absolutely picture-perfect Sunday afternoon in Tucson, Arizona, and at Tucson Electric Park. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks entertaining Art Howe's Oakland Athletics. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody. Alongside the former Giant All-Star Bob Brenly, I'm Thom Brennaman. Welcome, as always, to baseball and Arizona Diamondbacks baseball right here on Fox Sports Arizona. You know, Bobby, back on the 27th of February, our first ever game with the Diamondbacks, a lot of questions back then about some of the positions on this team. Not third base, not short, not center, but definitely second base and the corner outfield positions. Are there any answers with a week to go leading up to opening day?
Well, there have been some answers, but the questions haven't been completely answered. At second base, addressing that, first of all, Tony Batista certainly seems to be the odds-on favorite. He's gotten the majority of the at-bats. He's provided some pop with the bat. So a few defensive liabilities, 5 errors this spring, but I would have to say he's the front runner for the second base job. Of course, Buck Showalter will not rule out Edwin Diaz, who is a tremendous glove man at second base, had problems with the bat this spring. And don't forget Andy Fox. The Diamondbacks picked him up about a week or 10 days ago from the Yankees. Very versatile player, which would indicate that perhaps he'll be more of a utility player, but whoever's swinging the bat and getting the job done is going to get the playing time.
And Fox had 3 more hits in the game yesterday, the game in Scottsdale in the win over the Giants. Turning our attention now to the outfield, and I guess you would have to assume, wouldn't you, Bobby, that right now Devon White obviously in center, Kareem Garcia an everyday player in right.
I would have to say so. I mean, the big question with Kareem Garcia was his shoulder. Was he healthy enough? Could he throw from right field? And he certainly dispelled any notion that his arm is hurting him. He's really throwing the ball well, swinging the bat well, driving in runs. Left field is a log jam right now. Yamil Benitez getting a lot of playing time out there would have to be considered the slight favorite right now, but Brent Brady, Chris Jones, David DeLucci, all of those guys have been getting some playing time in the last week of spring training here. All of them have done something to help them make the ball club. Everybody brings a little something different to the table.
And I have to ask you very quickly, Bobby, you were an everyday player. You knew for a number of years there you were the opening day catcher for the Giants. What's it like now you get to the final week of spring training? What's it all about?
Well, now it's mental. Now you want to really concentrate on playing the game properly. You want to make sure your pitchers throw the right pitches in the right situations. You want to make sure your defense is set up properly for the pitch you're going to throw that hitter. First couple weeks are physical. Last week is all mental.
All right, we'll see how it goes today. Our final telecast leading up to the March 31st opener at Bank One Ballpark against Colorado. First things first, D-backs and the Athletics right around the corner. Fox Sports Net presents Diamondbacks Baseball, brought to you by Miller Lite, who reminds you that anything can happen at Miller time. By your Arizona Dodge dealers, setting the standard in product quality and customer service. And by Bank One, the official bank of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Edge Pizza, new from Pizza Hut. Have you been to the Edge? Diamondbacks up their inaugural Cactus League record over the 500 mark. A pair of wins yesterday, 6-2 in Scottsdale, 9-7 at High Corbett Field against Colorado. And a lot of the kids out today. And, Bobby, you couldn't ask for a more perfect Sunday afternoon.
Just make sure you have plenty of sunscreen. This is the kind of day that people have been waiting for all spring. An unusually cold spring here in Arizona. A little bit of rain, but the last couple of days have been absolutely ideal for baseball.
Boy, what a crowd they had yesterday for the Diamondbacks game at Scottsdale Stadium. In fact, a new Scottsdale Stadium record, 11,117 turned out for that one as the Diamondbacks take the field. And here's the Dodge starting lineup for Art Howe's Oakland Athletics. Ryan Christensen leads off in center with A.J. Hinch, the catcher, batting second. Ben Grieve, keep an eye on him in right. Jason Giambi, the first baseman. Shane Mack is in left field with Mike Blowers at third. And a ladder third batting order as you get a look at the A's lineup of Scott Spezio, the second baseman. Rafael Bornegal will be the shortstop today. And on the mound, you've seen him many, many times, Bobby, the knuckleballer, Tom Candiotti.
Yeah, we've seen him a lot. It seems like the last couple of years, Tom, he's doing our Fox games. We've had Tom Candiotti about a half a dozen times or more. No surprises from Tom Candiotti. He's going to throw that knuckleball. You're sure of that.
Art Howe, longtime manager of the Houston Astros, in a rebuilding mode with the Oakland Athletics. They lost better than 90 games last season for just the second time in 15 years. Our Pizza Hut delivery man on the mound today for the D-backs, right-hander Willie Blair.
You get a look at Willie Blair's numbers so far this spring. He's got 1 decision. He won the ball game, an ERA of an even 3. He goes after the hitters early in the count. Many pitchers will try to pitch around a hitter early and then have to come into the strike zone late. Not Willie Blair. He goes right after him early in the count. And that second bullet point, or third bullet point rather, not your typical pitcher. And by that I mean he's going to battle you. He'll do whatever he has to do. He'll dive after balls. He'll get involved in rundowns. He'll run the bases and break up double plays. He'll do whatever he has to do to win a ball game. Teammates love to play behind a guy like Willie Blair. They're always on their toes, ready to go.
And pardon Willie Blair if he gets finished with his afternoon work. He is a native, bear in mind, of Lexington, Kentucky. And the Wildcats will be duking it out later today with the Duke Blue Devils. You see the Diamondbacks defense with DeLucci and Jones flanking Devo in center. Holes and Travis Lee on the corners with Jay Bell and Andy Fox the middle infield. Blair and Kelly Stinnett make up the Diamondback battery. Boy, Willie was talking before the game today about those Kentucky Wildcats. He's a season ticket holder down at Rupp Arena. And he'll be able to finish up just in time today to get back and watch him. So here we go today. Ryan Christensen, the center fielder, in from the right side. He looks at ball one, and we're underway in Tucson.
Well, on the other hand, the U of A fans won't have any distractions today.
No, they definitely won't.
Tough ball game yesterday.
Oh,
wow.
Boy. Very somber crowd here today in Tucson. Floater into left center field is going to fall in front of Devon White. A leadoff single by Christensen, so he's aboard to start the ball game. Well, the A's have brought in a couple of veteran players to try and aid the cause this season. Ricky Henderson again is an Oakland Athletic, though not in the lineup today. He'll be in left field. And how about the debut the other night of Kevin Mitchell?
It was reminiscent of his debut with the San Francisco Giants when he came over in a big trade with the San Diego Padres back in 1987. Kevin Mitchell showed up for his first game as a Giant in Wrigley Field. Uniform with no name on the back, didn't fit him, and he hit 2 home runs in that ball game as well.
Did the same thing to the Diamondbacks the other night at Phoenix Muni. So now the batter A.J. Hinch, they like this young man a lot. Had 20 home runs at Single A last season before bringing him up to Triple A, where he tore it up over about a 3-4 week spell.
I don't think there's any question that A.J. Hinch is going to be the catcher for the Oakland A's for a number of years. I don't know perhaps that they wanted him to be the catcher this year, but because of some injuries to people they were counting on, A.J. is going to get a chance to play.
Willie Blair working out of the stretch, and he'll keep an eye on Christensen over at first base.
Yeah, I was surprised talking to Art Howe. He said that Kevin Mitchell looks great. He really got himself back into shape. And we've talked about this before, Tommy. I don't know if there is a stronger man in baseball, maybe not in all of sports, than Kevin Mitchell when he's in good shape.
A.J. Hinch, just 23 years old, was Oakland's third-round selection in the '96 June draft, and he looks at a strike. It's 1-1. Last year was his first year of professional baseball. Hit the 20 home runs at Modesto. They brought him to Triple-A Edmonton, where in 39 games he knocked in 24 runs and hit 376.
That'll open some eyes.
Yes. 1-1 delivery. Christensen going. It's on the ground. Bell will not get the out at second, and he plays to first. So they avoid the double play by starting Christensen. He advances into scoring position, 1 down in the opening inning.
Definitely a hit and run. Art Howe is not the kind of manager, particularly with the personnel that he has in the lineup today, to try a lot of straight steals. And you can see Hinch swinging at the pitch, hits it on the ground, which is what you're supposed to do in a hit and run situation. Jay Bell probably wisely chose to go to first base right there. It looked like he didn't have a real good handle on that ball. And if you make a bad toss right there, there's a possibility you get no outs in that situation. And definitely you want to get at least one.
Well, here's a crown jewel of this Oakland franchise in terms of its youth, and that's young Ben Grieve, son of longtime Rangers general manager Thom Grieve. And you see what kind of spring he's having.
You said it, Tommy. Keep an eye on this guy. He is their Travis Lee. He is their star of the future.
Got jammed with that pitch and fouls it off. Grieve only 21 years old. First round pick for the A's, second overall in the '94 June draft. Was named the minor league player of the year by USA Today and the Sporting News. Was MVP last season of the Southern League. They brought him all the way up to the major leagues in September. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And in 24 games at the major league level with the A's, he knocked in 24 runs.
He just has a lot of poise, once again like Travis Lee. Compare those two a lot throughout the course of the day. Just their poise, the way they approach the game, just the way that you almost get the sense that they feel they belong here.
Christensen running, throw down to third by Stinnett. They got it. Dead to rights was Christensen. Perfect throw by Kelly Stinnett. 2 down in the inning.
Well, I just said it a moment ago that Art Howe does not like to straight steal very often, but obviously Christensen felt he had a jump out there at second base. Most of the time when a runner tries to steal third base, it's on his own. And you can see a very tardy jump if you're going to try to steal third base. Most of the time you try to get a much better read on the pitcher than that. Find some kind of a key that you can get your momentum started towards third base. And just a perfect throw by Kelly Stinnett right on the bag for Darnell Coles.
Meanwhile, it's now 3-2 on Ben Grieve with 2 down and nobody on here in the Athletics opening inning. And Blair works out of the regular windup. Here's a payoff. Lifted into deep right center field. On the run is Jones. It'll go to the wall. And Grieve will cruise in with a stand-up 2-out double. And what an out that was at third on the caught stealing of Christensen, or else Oakland would have an early lead.
Well, Tommy, we talked about it in the open, the mental part of baseball. That was a mental mistake on Christensen's part. He's got the 2 best hitters on the Oakland A's team coming up behind him, and he runs into the second out of the inning. Get a real good look at Ben Grieve's swing. Oh, just a pretty stroke. Good low ball hitter like a lot of left-handers. Full extension. Didn't try to pull the ball. Just took it into the gap in right center.
Grieve on at second base for Art Howe's team. And here's Jason Giambi, who has already knocked in 16 runs this spring. Good breaking ball there from Blair, in for a strike. Giambi last season hit 20 home runs and knocked in 81 runs. And at 27 years young, they're beginning to build around Jason Giambi along with many of their young players.
Boy, Oakland really struggled through it last year. Had a lot of problems, specifically with the pitching staff. A lot of injuries. A lot of players were forced into the major leagues much sooner than the A's would have liked, but in the long run that experience may prove to be beneficial.
1-1 delivery in the dirt, blocked nicely by Stinnett. 2 balls and a strike. And you talk about the haves and the have-nots within one division. The Oakland A's are going to go into this season with roughly a payroll of about $14 million. Meanwhile, the Anaheim Angels, $44 million. The Rangers in Seattle, both over $50 million. Thus, the A's are picked to finish at the bottom of the American League West. Pretty good division this year, the way it's starting to shape out.
Now, Anaheim should be an interesting team. They made some very unusual additions, but all in all, it should add up to a pretty solid ball club, specifically offensively.
Cool.
Put Big Daddy in the middle of that lineup. Cecil Fielder hitting with Tim Salmon and Jim Edmonds, Darren Erstad, Garrett Anderson. Yeah. They got a chance to score a ton of runs.
Grieve at second, 2 away, 3 balls and a strike to Giambi. Look out here. And he pops it up. Third base side, Darnell Coles looking for help from Jay Bell. Darnell will take it, and the inning is over. 2 hits, 1 left. We played a half inning in Tucson. Athletics nothing. The Diamondbacks are coming up. Athletics a pair of hits, no runs in the opening inning. So now the Diamondbacks get a crack at it. And here's the Dodge starting lineup for Buck Showalter's Arizona Diamondbacks. Leading off in center field, it'll be Devon White. Hitting second at second base is Andy Fox. Chris Jones in right field will bat third. Travis Lee in the cleanup spot, followed by Jay Bell at short, then David DeLucci in left field, with a latter third of Kelly Stinnett. Darnell Coles at third base today, and Willie Blair on the mound. Our Pizza Hut delivery man for the Athletics today. We mentioned him earlier, the knuckleballer, Thom Candiato.
He's going to live and die with that knuckleball. If he's got a good one, that's what you're going to see a lot of today. For those of you not familiar with the knuckleball, it's a pitch that's thrown with no rotation, and the ball just darts and dodges depending on how the wind catches the seams. If it's on, he'll throw the knuckler every pitch. If not, He throws a big overhand curveball and a sneaky fastball. And the only reason it's sneaky is because his knuckleball is about 55 miles an hour. His fastball is about 70, so it looks sneaky fast.
Devon White to settle in, hitting at .229, a home run, 3 runs batted in on the spring. And it's in there, a strike.
Now, generally, when Candiotti falls behind in the count, 2-0, 3-1, 3-0, he won't just rear back and try to throw a straight pitch. He'll throw the curveball for a strike.
Straight away center field, Christensen there, and White retired. Thom Candiotti, 40 years old. He'll turn 41 on August 31st. The defense behind him, Mac Christensen, Grieve, left, center, and right. With Blowers, Rafael Bornegal, Scott Spezio, and Jason Giambi on the infield, and the battery of Candiotti and Hinch. Candiotti not offered a contract by the Dodgers, whom he finished last season with, and signed a 2-year deal to go to the Athletics, and that should turn out, Bob Brenly, to be a very fine sign for the A's. They need pitching, and they know Candiotti will chew up a lot of innings and always take the ball.
He never gets hurt. Yeah, he gives you a lot of innings, like you mentioned, Tommy, and above and beyond that, he's a native of the East Bay, so he's in effect going home to play.
Andy Fox had 3 hits in the game yesterday. He has been on a tear. Been working a great deal with the Diamondbacks hitting instructor Jim Presley. They've corrected a flaw or 2 in his approach, and has been swinging a good bat. 2-1.
Andy Fox, a big guy, 6'4", can generate a lot of power, and has at times throughout his career. You know, the big job for Jim Presley and Buck Showalter's staff was to find out how to get that power more consistently, how to get Andy Fox to drive the ball more consistently, and he made a few mechanical changes in his approach at the plate, and so far they're seeing results.
Got fooled by that pitch. Lazy fly ball again to center, and again Christensen there for the second out.
Try somebody else. They've hit 2 balls to Christensen. He caught them both. Try somebody else. Now you'll see Andy Fox well out in front of this pitch. See him trying to extend his swing, really make that bat, make those arms a little bit longer, try to keep that bat in the strike zone as long as he could, but just caught the bottom part of the ball, lifted a lazy fly into center.
Chris Jones having a good spring, hitting at .320 with a home run and 11 runs batted in. And we brought up earlier, Jones among the group of outfielders trying to make the opening day roster. If not as a starter, then someone to pinch hit, come off the bench, and fill in every now and then for whoever the starter may be.
And for maybe the first time in baseball history, it's to Chris Jones' advantage to be a right-handed hitter. When you think of Brent Brady's a left-handed hitter, Kareem Garcia's a left-handed hitter, David DeLucci's a left-handed hitter, Yamil Benitez figures to be the left fielder. So that works in Chris Jones' favor, the fact that he bats from the right side of the plate.
Two down, nobody on, no score in the first inning. And Jones hammers one to straightaway center field, a base hit. CJ a 2-out single, and the inning will continue for Travis Lee.
Yeah, usually if you're a left-hander, you hang around for it, depending on what position you play. You look at Chris Jones here trying to take Thom Candiotti's hat off with a line drive back through the box. Real good balance there from Chris Jones. You can see just a very slight shift of weight there, no big stride. That's usually when guys get fooled. The more movement they have in their swing, the more susceptible they are to getting fooled by a pitch. Chris Jones is very economical in his movement in that batter's box.
Travis getting his first look at Thom Candiotti and takes ball 1 in the dirt. Jones stays put at first base, blocked nicely there by Hinch. You know, talking to Buck before the game, and those of you that weren't with us for the pregame show here on Fox Sports Arizona, I think a lot of us take for granted Travis Lee and all the buildup, all the expectations, and you forget sometimes this is his first major league spring training. That's a fair ball, and Travis is out. We'll talk more about him when we come back. A hit, a man left. At the end of an inning, no score in Tucson. No score at the end of 1. You know, Bobby, we were starting to talk about Travis Lee, and here's what happened to him a moment ago.
Now, you were saying his first major league spring training, his first chance probably of seeing a real major league knuckleball. and just rolled right over the top of it. That's got to be quite an awakening. I mean, I don't care what college program you come from. A major league spring training is special. I mean, in the minor leagues, you get crackers and peanut butter. In the big leagues, they put out a nice
yeah.
In the minor leagues, you got one pair of cleats that you have to wear all year long. You've got one glove you use all year long. Some guys have one bat they use all year long. Big leagues, hey, if it gets a mark on it, send it down to the minor leaguers. Give me a new one. So I'm sure this has been quite an eye-opener for Travis Lee.
And not only all of that as Willie Blair delivers a strike in there to Shane Mack 1-1, but how well that Lee has done. And again, to repeat, he is seeing major league pitchers like Darryl Kyle, like Thom Candiotti, like Kevin Brown for the first time in his very young career, and yet he's had a very solid spring with the 15 runs batted in and a better than 300 average. Spring training or no spring training?
Well, you're absolutely right, Tommy. He's more than held his own against some of the best the major leagues has to offer. Granted, there have been times late in the ball game perhaps where he runs up against a guy that's going to end up pitching in Double-A, and he wears the guy out, which is what you're supposed to do if you're a good player and you're going to be a good player. Take advantage of those guys that are going to give you good at bats and battle your butt off against the tough guys.
Jam shot roller off the bat of Mack, and Jay Bell throws him out.
But once again, you know, I referred to it when we talked about Ben Grieve and Travis Lee. These guys just have a poise about them. They just carry themselves in a manner that says, I'm not afraid to be here. I know what I have to do, and I'm going to be successful. You know, you can do your best to try to stop me, but in the end, I'm going to win.
Mike Blowers will settle in, hitting at .250 on the spring with a home run and 6 knocked in. Blowers been around a long time, played many years with Seattle, went to the Dodgers for a short time, and now with the Athletics is their everyday third baseman. Boy, he had a couple of fine years with Seattle. Good breaking ball from Blair. It's 1-1. Willie penciled in as a #2 starter for the Diamondbacks once the regular season gets underway. He'll be following Andy Bennis in the rotation as it goes to 2-1. And we documented a little bit after that. Joel Adamson has pitched very well, and Buck Showalter said today before the game he's in the rotation, joining, you would assume, Brian Anderson, the left-hander, and the right-hander Jeff Suppan, although Suppan has really struggled during spring training.
We got a chance to see Adamson pitch last night against the Rockies over at High Corbett Field in a night game. The Diamondbacks had a split squad yesterday. You mentioned the afternoon game was in Scottsdale against the Giants. Last night they played the Rockies, and Adamson pitched a great ball game. Gave up a solo homer to Ellis Burks and got into a couple jams, but was able to pitch himself out of them. And really the only damage was a little broken back floater down the right field line that hit right on the chalk and scored a couple of runs. Other than that, he pitched a great game. Look at Willie Blair retiring Mike Blowers right here. Appeared to be a breaking ball when we saw it with the naked eye, and it was a little slider on the outside corner. Starts right on the corner of the strike zone and just slides out into that left-handed batter's box, gets the swing and a miss.
Scott Spezio, a converted third baseman, was the regular second baseman last season, and Travis a nice play behind the bag, and he'll beat Spezio to it to end the inning. 1-2-3 in the inning for Oakland. So the Diamondbacks bat in the second, still a scoreless game. Score as we move to the bottom half of the second inning. Let's take a look at our Chevrolet leaderboard. The batting averages for the Diamondbacks during Cactus League play. A lot of those guys, Bobby, you were talking about trying to win jobs.
Yeah, they're doing what they have to do. I mean, you know, many times we talk, you come into spring training, you're assured a job, you go about your business, you get ready for the season. But when you're battling for a job, every at-bat is important. I mean, you are up there grinding every at-bat like it's the 9th inning of the World Series, and that's the way you should approach it, and that's the way Buck wants to see these guys go about it.
And obviously the top 2 hitters on that list you saw, Matt Williams and George Fabregas, they know they'll be in the opening day lineup, but the other 4 are all duking it out. Here's Jay Bell. He knows he'll be at shortstop. Fouls it away. It's 1-1.
Yeah, but those guys that have the club made aren't taking anything for granted. As you know, Tom, we were hoping to get Matt Williams up here in the booth for a couple innings today since he's not in the starting lineup, but I waited down in the clubhouse until I had to rush up here to get ready for the open. He's over on a backfield somewhere taking extra batting practice.
Well, it's paying off so far. There you see George Fabregas. He'll be behind the plate come opening day against the Colorado Rockies, March 31st. Little irony, of course, to that game. You figure Andy Bennis, the starter for the Diamondbacks. Darryl Kyle, one would assume, will be the opening night starter for the Rockies. And Kyle had narrowed it down to Colorado and the Diamondbacks when he was out on the free agent market, and of course chose Don Baylor's team.
Which is one of the many surprises of the offseason. Some of the free agent signings, I don't know about you, but they had me scratching my head a little bit. Every pitcher that goes to Colorado, you hear them complain they can't get their breaking ball to break, and the home run ball seemed to jump out of that ballpark. I would not think that would be a place I would go to if I was a curveball pitcher, which Darryl Kyle is.
That'll be a big question mark for the Rockies going into this 98th campaign. 3-2 delivery, and Bell stays alive.
Well, the good news is for the Rockies is they play 81 games in Coors Field. They play 81 on the road, and Darryl Kyle will pitch a lot of ball games on the road, and the curveball should be snapping when he goes on the road. They're much improved, though. I mean, in the past, the Rockies, you could be pretty sure they were going to score 10 runs, but they were probably going to give up 12 or 15. But now with Kyle, Pedro Estacio, they've got a much better looking pitching staff.
3-2 on Jay Bell, and Candiotti turns it loose, and again it's chopped foul. Well, there certainly are many questions about the Colorado Rockies heading into this season. You know, we were talking about Darryl Kyle. What about Todd Helton? Can he replace the big cat, Andres Galarraga? Nafi Perez, the youngster, is he for real? And that one is going to fall in, a base hit for Jay Bell to begin the Diamondbacks' second inning. What about some of those answers, though, Bobby? You know, Todd Helton, he told us last week when we played the Rockies that, you know, he doesn't feel the pressure. I don't know if I'm believing that or not.
Playing at Coors Field, he's going to be in front of a full house every night, and a full house that's used to big offensive numbers from that first base position. So he may not feel it right now, but I think he will when he sets foot at Coors Field. Nafi Perez, I would have to say, is the real deal. He may struggle at times at the plate this year, which a lot of young players will do, making adjustments.
That one getting away from the catcher Hinch, and Bell will advance on to second base.
And we've had an opportunity to see Nafi Perez play several games down here in Tucson this spring, and he has done nothing to make me think he's not going to be a great player. Tremendous range at shortstop, great arm, seems to have a knack to be in the right place at the right time defensively, and got a little pop in that bat on offense.
Well, I like that Colorado team. That's a good-looking bunch. When you have now Mike Lansing, who's come over to play second base, Perez at shortstop. That's an upgrade from Walt Weiss. I don't think anybody can debate that. And then that outfield, wow. Bichette, Walker, and Burks. 2-0 now on David DeLucci.
And I mentioned I saw the ball game last night, and Mount Bichette seems to be melting a little bit. Showed up at spring training around 260 or, I don't know, 360 it looked. But his weight is down a little bit, and he looks more like Dante of old.
2-1. Well, you know, Bobby, I mean, you tend to even have it happen now in your broadcast days. You beef up a little in the offseason.
Yeah, but I don't have to run around the bases and put on double knits.
Right.
Yeah, if they make us wear one of those tight double knit uniforms, I'll slim down a little.
2-1 to DeLucci. Trying to get the runner down to third, hooking one to the right side, but that one foul. It's 2-2. You know, these are the kinds of little things Buck Showalter is looking for. If DeLucci doesn't drive in the run, can he get Jay Bell to third base?
And with Candiotti on the mound, it would figure to be an easy task today. Candiotti is not the kind of pitcher that's going to throw you a 98-mile-an-hour fastball in the outside corner, and you're not able to pull it. He's probably going to throw something slow, and you should be able to get the head of the bat out there and hook the ball back to the right side, although DeLucci lifted that fly down the left field line. Appeared to be a knuckleball that kind of sailed on Thom Candiotti. Very bizarre pitch, that knuckleball. We were talking to Ray Fosse down around the batting cage a little bit. Of course, he's a broadcaster for the A's, a great catcher in the major league for years. And he said that Candiotti just aims to try to throw it right between the catcher's eyes, and then it will go down in an inverted V. It will either go down and away or down and in. And he doesn't know which way it's going to go.
Right. How'd you like to be the catcher? 3 balls, 2 strikes. You've caught the knuckleball before.
I've never really caught a legitimate knuckleballer like Candiotti or like a Charlie Huff or one of the Necro brothers.
Right.
I've caught guys who were getting their regular stuff whacked around so badly they decided they were going to start throwing a knuckleball today.
Right.
And they weren't very good, but it's a very effective pitch for somebody who's able to at least keep it close to the strike zone.
There's ball 4. So DeLucci aboard. First 2 on here in the 2nd inning for the Diamondbacks. Brian Butterfield, the third base coach, glancing in at Buck Showalter in the Diamondbacks' third base side dugout, and begins to relay the signs, and perhaps we'll see Kelly Stinnett try to advance the runners with a bunt. Maybe. The A's figuring there will be a sacrifice attempted anyway. Tucking in at third is Blowers. No sign of a bunt as Stinnett drives one into left center field. On the run, Christensen. It's at the wall. Bell on his way to third. He will come racing around. Here's a throw to the plate, cut off. And Kelly Stinnett with an RBI double gives Arizona a 1-0 lead here in the 2nd inning. So much for the bunt idea.
Well, he moved the runners up all right. Great job of keeping his hands back. He gets fooled by this knuckleball a little bit, gets his weight out front, but kept his hands back and was able to drive this ball into the gap in left center. You know, I was just about to say before that pitch, Tommy, guys that have success against knuckleball pitchers are usually the backup players, the guys that don't get to play regularly, because most of their at-bats are against coaches. You see Jay Bell barely beating David DeLucci around third, scoring. And Brian Butterfield wisely held up DeLucci with no outs. 2 runners in scoring position now. But I was saying the guys that sit on the bench and get to play maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, most of their BP is against coaches who are throwing 65 or 70 miles an hour, which is exactly what Candiotti's knuckleball is.
Darnell Coles fouls it away. That's a great point. We were asking Buck about that today when he was determining who would be in the lineup today, because Bob, isn't it also true that if you're a regular player, you face a guy then like Candiotti, that might throw off your timing the next 2 or 3 days after?
Oh, absolutely. Most hitters, you're geared for fastball. You go to the plate and you get your mind set to hit the guy's fastest pitch.
1-1 to Coles, and this will bring in a run. The chopper down to first. Giambi to Candiotti, foot race there, and Thom will win it. But it's 2-0 Diamondbacks as DeLucci comes in to score, and advancing on to third is Stinnett.
Well, there it is. It wasn't pretty, but it drove the run in. Not only that, it advanced the runner to third base. Now Willie Blair has a chance to help himself and drive in a run here. The A's are going to play the infield in. Now we're going to have a visit to the mound. I believe that's Bob Cluck, the pitching coach.
And Bob, you were starting to talk about a hitter that gears up for the best fastball the opposing pitcher has to offer.
And then you face a guy like Candiotti, who used to sitting on 90 to 95 mile-an-hour fastballs and making very short, quick adjustments to breaking pitches. And now you're seeing a guy that his fastest pitch doesn't even come close to an off-speed pitch that a regular pitcher would throw. It really is a completely different adjustment, and a lot of managers refuse to let their best hitters hit against knuckleball pitchers. They give the guy the day off. And I think if you have a knuckleball pitcher on your staff, as a manager, it would behoove you to throw a flamethrower the day before, if you have one, throw the knuckleballer, then come back with another flamethrower the day after. It really can throw off your stroke at the plate, not only for that game, but for days afterwards.
Bobby mentioned the Oakland infield drawn in with Stinnett at third base, 1 away. It's been a 2-run 2nd inning thus far, and Willie Blair the batter. Blair looking like he means business. Well, until that swing anyway. And
until he swung. Yeah. Well, he's trying. If you think the hitters have a hard time with the knuckleball, how about the pitchers?
Right.
They never see it.
Oh, and 2 to Willie Blair with Stinnett at third against a drawn-in infield. Swing and a miss, but it gets away from Hinch, and the run is going to score, and Blair will reach first base safely. How about that? 3-0 Arizona.
Well, there are definitely downsides to throwing an erratic pitch like the knuckleball, and A.J. Hinch is getting an education very quickly on what the downside is. Get a real good look at it. He was anticipating that ball going down towards the dirt, and it really didn't. It started to move down towards the dirt and then just kind of held path. Hinch was heading down to block the ball, and it just hit off his glove, came off to the side. Blair was able to reach, run scores.
And that is ruled as a strikeout as Devo puts a charge into one to deep right field. Goodbye. Devon White, a 2-run home run to right field. And the Diamondbacks now lead 5-0. For Devo, his second home run of the spring.
And a Cleveland Indians fan made a nice play out there. Of course, Cleveland trained here in Tucson for years over at High Corbett Field.
I was going to say, somebody forgot to tell him they left.
Well, it certainly seems like the Diamondbacks have made an adjustment to the speed of that knuckleball. Getting some good hacks this inning against Thom Candiotti.
Randy Fox looks at a strike.
You know, it's really more of a mental thing than anything else. You really have to tell yourself, slow down, don't be too anxious, keep your body very still up there at the plate, and try to be quick at the last second. That's what Randy Fox did.
And there's another Arizona base hit. 4 hits in the inning, 5 runs thus far, and still only 1 out.
Devo still able to drive that ball, especially from the left side of the plate. Oh, my.
It's the way you used to hit him.
Not often enough, or I wouldn't be up here.
Well, Buck Showalter has been extremely pleased with Devon White, not only what he's doing on the field, and obviously he's played, as you would expect, a brilliant defensive center field. He's hit, there goes a runner, and to throw to second, it looked like Hinch couldn't find the handle, and Fox has a stolen base.
And I mentioned there are downsides to throwing the knuckleball. We saw the pass ball on the strikeout to Willie Blair. This is another downside to the knuckleball. You never really catch the ball cleanly. The ball's moving so much at the last second as it comes into that hitting zone that you never really catch the ball clean in the pocket of the glove. You're not able to make that good transfer in the throwing hand, and we saw the result right there.
1-0 to Chris Jones. On the ground at short. Bornegal will look Fox back and throw out CJ at first. 2 down in the inning. Starting to say about Devon White, and Buck Showalter had comments after the game yesterday how he has led by example for some of the younger players on this Diamondbacks roster.
Yeah, that's part of the reason they brought him in here, I'm sure, and Matt Williams and Jay Bell as well. These guys were good citizens in the clubhouse. They were the kind of guys that would bring out the best in their teammates, and as you said, lead by example.
9th man to bat in the inning is Travis Lee.
You see Matt Williams probably has blisters on his hands right now. As I headed up to the booth here, we can see the practice fields off in the distance, and some poor coach was out there throwing his arm off.
Yes.
One more.
And the season hadn't even started. Travis hammers one into deep left center field. On the run, Christensen. He looks up and it's off the wall. Scoring is Fox, and Travis Lee knocks in his 16th run of the spring. It is 6-0 Diamondbacks.
You might have seen a little smirk on Thom Candiotti's face there. He's been through this before. He's had days when the knuckleball just didn't do what he wanted it to do. See, that pitch is right straight down the heart of the plate, up around the belt. Travis Lee doesn't try to pull it. He drives the ball out there to the deepest part of the ballpark and just about got it out of here. Just a picture-perfect swing. That bat's so level as it comes through the strike zone, and it seems like the bat stays in the strike zone for a long time.
6-run inning for the Diamondbacks against Candiotti in the second. Jay Bell started the party with a single into left field and scored the first run of the game. A ball and a strike on Jay Bell. That one bounces up there, and again, Hinch having to find a way to body block it.
You have to have nightmares. If you're a catcher and you know you're going to go out there the next day and face or catch a knuckleball pitcher, it just has to give you nightmares. It really does. You got to see that in your sleep at night, that ball fluttering around like a butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice block right there. That ball hit way out in front of home plate.
And they don't give the catchers a net. At least I'm told they're not.
They do give him that big floppy glove, though. Probably more closely resembles a first baseman's mitt than a catcher's glove. It's very flexible, able to dig the ball out of the dirt, and that glove belongs to Thom Candiotti. He carries it with him wherever he goes, because most catchers don't carry a knuckleball mitt. It's so rare that you ever see a guy that throws a knuckleball that it seems much more appropriate that the pitcher keep the glove. So Thom Candiotti carries that knuckleball mitt with him wherever he goes, and if he needs to get some work, there you go.
3-1 the count on Bell. Lifts one into deep left center field. Again, Christensen at the track, the wall. And did that get out of here? No, it did not. It got off the top of the wall. Here comes Bell to third, and the throw is not in time. 7-0 Diamondbacks. Bell just missed what would have been the second home run of the inning.
Well, when it rains, it pours. Jay Bell gets a pitch once again up around the belt, right in the middle of the zone. Hit right off the top, just above that Empire Machinery sign, and bounces back into play. Boy, Christensen's run about 2 miles out there this inning.
Huh.
He's getting tired.
So now it'll be David DeLucci. He walked and scored here in what has been a 7-run second inning. And he lifts a fly ball. Christensen doesn't have to go as far this time. And mercifully for Thom Candiotti, the second inning is over. 7 runs on 6 hits and a man left. We move to the third. 7-0 Diamondbacks. This week. The Diamondbacks on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by your Greater Phoenix Ford dealers, where you can find 5 of the top 10 selling vehicles in America, and by America West Airlines, the official airline of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Another good crowd on hand here today at Tucson Electric Park. Diamondbacks 7 runs they come up with in the bottom half of the second inning and lead 7-0 as we're set for the third. Willie Blair to face Rafael Bornegal. Thom Candiotti maybe. Yep, he's in the on-deck circle. And then Ryan Christensen.
Yeah, nobody warming up yet for the Oakland A's. I mean, it's still a spring training game. Candiotti's got to get a certain amount of work in here. Although the outfielders probably wish they'd bring somebody else.
Yeah, they're getting plenty of work. Conditioning work. Bornegal, a former Dodger, and played regularly at shortstop last season for the A's. Doesn't figure to be there on a regular basis this year. But a good steady player to have. Can bounce around the infield and thus serves a pretty nice role on a ball club.
He's had a pretty good spring to this point, hitting .324, getting the bat on the ball, spraying it around a little bit.
Hit hard but foul. Diamondbacks will close out Arizona play in spring training. And apparently he's not going to make the cut. Bad hands on that young man on that rocket down there. He missed it.
Yeah, he's too busy peeling lemons down there. Lemonade stand is up here at the concourse, pal. You want to catch the ball, put the lemon down.
Popped up. Travis on the run along with Andy Fox, and Lee will get there. Nice play by Travis. One away.
Nice play by Travis Lee. Here's a bad play by a fan. Look at this. Oh, put the lemon down.
It's like that beer commercial where the guy sits there in the outfield, he won't put the beer down, and plunks him on the head. And not only that, he picked the wrong team against
North Carolina. Now he gets his glove. Okay.
Right.
Just a little tardy. Well, he's got the good T-shirt on.
Oh, yeah. Candiotti swinging the bat, fouls it off.
I'm looking forward to see what kind of fielders we have at Bank One Ballpark this year, Tom. As you know, we travel around over the summer. We get to see a lot of different ballparks, and in some parks the fans take their defense very seriously.
Oh yeah.
Other places they run from the ball.
Well, where were we last year? Well, we must have seen about, I don't know, 8-10 balls hit in the stands and everybody booted them. Trying to remember where we were on that particular day. It was very, very bad defense.
You know, and as a fan, you have to keep your head in the game. If you're sitting down the third base side, you know, the guy's a pull hitter, you sit on the inside of your seat. And if the guy hits the ball the opposite way, you move to the other side of the seat. And you have to position yourself just like the players have to position themselves. You can't just sit there straight away all the time. You know?
No, but what do you do if you have a date? I mean, you know, you might want to hold her hand or put your arm around her or whatever. What do you do there?
You do that before or after the game.
Preferably both.
Give her the glove. You know, you could wear a left-handed glove. She could wear a right-handed glove, and then you can put your arms around each other and still have the gloves out there.
Boy, there's an idea.
Two-headed fielder.
Yeah.
That was either an F-15 or one of my throws from my playing days. I'm not sure.
Well, they've got the air show going on just right down the way. That was an F-15 Eagle. I mean, they've got the Thunderbolt 2s out today, the Mustangs. That one popped up in foul ground, and it'll drop into the dugout. And then later on this afternoon, we'll probably be able to catch the Blue Angels. They're out today.
Well, it is something to behold if you've never had an opportunity to see a big league air show.
Oh, yeah.
We got to see him practice a little bit here a few days ago. And, man, some of the maneuvers they put those planes through, I mean, put Disneyland to shame.
3-2 pitch. Candiotti, who's making Blair work here, and that'll continue as he fouls it off. I remember that air show they used to have every year. Remember along Lake Michigan, back when we were announcing the Cub games. They'd have those stealth bombers come flying by right above Wrigley Field. Wow. Hit hard by Candiotti, but right at David DeLucci for out number 2 here in the Oakland third inning.
The Diamondbacks going to have an air show at every game like this? 81 times this summer?
Why not? Actually, we will, with the airport being nearby Bank One Ballpark.
Although I don't think anybody wants to see the 747s doing barrel rolls as they come into the Sky Harbor Airport there.
No. 2 down in the inning, and here's Christensen. Back in the first inning, he singled. Tried to steal third base with one away, and Ben Grieve at the plate and was cut down, and then Grieve promptly followed with a double into right center field. 1-1. Diamondbacks will be going to Las Vegas near the end of the week, play a couple of times there on Friday and Saturday, and then come back home and have the exhibition game on the 29th, a week from today, against the White Sox at Bank One Ballpark. They'll have a workout on Monday and then go get them for real beginning Tuesday night. That'll end the inning. Second strikeout for Willie Blair, who's retired the last 7. We head for the bottom of the third. 7-0 Diamondbacks. Welcome back to Fox Sports Arizona, your region of Fox Sports Net, and our coverage of Arizona Diamondbacks baseball all summer long. Glad to have you with us here at Tucson Electric Park, along with Bob Brenly and our entire Fox Sports Net crew. I'm Thom Brennaman. Hope you're having a great Sunday afternoon, wherever it is you may be watching from today. 7-0 Diamondbacks after 2.5. Latter third in the batting order, Kelly Stinnett, Darnell Coles, and then Willie Blair against Tom Candiotti. And Stinnett looks at a strike. Kelly had a double, knocked in a run, and scored in the 7-run second inning. Well, you know, we were joking around the other day during the dedication ceremony at Bank One Ballpark on Friday about that electric sign that used to sit out on the corner of 4th and Jefferson, telling you how many days there were leading up to opening day. And I remember, Bobby, when we came on board, it was in the neighborhood of about 500 and something. Heck, I've had friends of mine that have gotten married and had 2 kids since that sign first went up. As Stinnett lifts one into deep left center field. On the run, Christensen. It'll go to the wall. Stinnett will hustle into second base with his second double of the afternoon. Boy, he's had a good spring.
He really has. He was another guy coming into camp. There was some question about that backup catcher spot, but Kelly Stinnett has pretty much erased all those questions. This is one of the things that made him stand out with the Milwaukee Brewers, why they took Kelly Stinnett in the expansion draft. This guy's got pop. He's got a lot of power in a very small, compact frame, and they feel that if he was the kind of catcher who caught maybe 125 games a year, he would probably hit 25 or 30 home runs. He has that kind of power.
Darnell Coles now settles in, and he drives one into right center field, but Christensen played him that way, makes a catch, and Stinnett heads up base running, tags up, and advances on to third. Well, while we have a moment, let's take a look at our Gatorade trivia question today. Who is the RBI leader for the Oakland A's in 1982 and again in 1983? We'll give you a few moments to think about that.
I finally know the answer to a trivia question.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, why don't you take a stab at it on the air before we find out as Blair chops it foul?
Well, I will. I'll give the fans a chance to dig through their baseball encyclopedia. This guy, I'll tell you, he used to swing. They used to talk about Mitch Williams, the old pitcher, that he pitched like his hair was on fire. This guy would swing like his bat was on fire. He tried to hit every ball over the roof of the stadium. And more often than not, he did.
On the ground, it will not get the run in from third base as Blair bounces out to Blowers, 2 away in the inning. All right, well, go ahead and tell us before we put it up.
Well, he's on the field today, coaching first base. Right there you see him, Eddie Murphy. Great center fielder for the Oakland Athletics, 7 gold gloves. And he would take a hack at the plate. It was scary when you were catching behind him. I was always worried he was going to hurt himself. He swung so hard.
Boy, he could really play the outfield. You mentioned it, Bob. All the gold gloves. And a lot of people don't remember about Dwayne Murphy. Coming out of high school, he was one of the most heavily recruited football players in the country. In fact, was going to go play football at Arizona State, and then elected to go ahead and play baseball professionally. And he went back for a couple of years and was a varsity football coach. Tough man. Runner at third, 2 down, and the Diamondbacks with a 7-0 lead. We're in the third inning, and Devon White, who homered his last time up, takes high from Candiotti. It's 3-0. Devo homered to the lawn area out in right center field for his second home run of the spring. It came with a man aboard, and he's drawn a walk. Second of the game issued by Thom Candiotti, and the inning continues for Randy Fox. Remember that bit we had a couple of years ago on the Fox Game of the Week with this guy, Andy Fox? You went down to that interview with him, if I remember right.
Yeah, I said, you know, what do you like to do in the off season? Do you like to hunt? Yeah. What do you hunt? Fox. Well, there were, but do you like to dance? Yeah, fox trot.
You like women? Yeah, what kind?
Foxes.
Right.
What's your favorite network? Fox. Yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah, he is. Fly ball into short left center field. And making the play out there is Shane Mack to end the inning. No runs, a hit, 2 left. Greg Schulte comes over in the 4th inning at the end of 3, 7-0 Diamondbacks.
live today. They're up 7-0 over the Oakland Athletics as we go to the 4th inning here at Tucson Electric Park. Along with Bob Brenly, I'm Greg Schulte, and boy, those bats have really come alive the last couple of days, Bob.
Buck's got to love what he's seen in this ball game today. Thom, the knuckleballer, a very bizarre pitch, tough to get your timing on, but the Diamondbacks certainly seem to be whacking it today.
Kelly Stinnett with a couple of doubles in the ball game. Travis Lee with a double. Jay Bell with a triple, and of course Devon White with a 2-run homer. And those bats are alive and well, and it's good to see Willie Blair doing a good job on the mound pitching.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're getting closer to opening day here. We all know Andy Bennis is going to be on the mound opening day, but Willie Blair is going to be out there day 2 of the season, and you always want to finish strong in spring training. It's tough when you go out, you start spring training real well, and then your last couple starts, perhaps you struggle a little bit. You'd much rather have it be the other way around.
Okay, we go to the 4th inning, and leading off for the Oakland Athletics against the right-hander, Willie Blair, is A.J. Hinch, the catcher. Hinch grounded to short his first time up. Right-handed batter. He's expecting some big things from this young man. First pitch of the 4th is outside, ball 1. Well, you being the former catcher, A.J. Hinch, you really expect a lot of big things from him, Bob.
Yeah, I just think he's probably wishing he didn't have to catch Thom very often, but he's going to see him 32 or 35 times this year. Hinch looks good behind the plate, though. He's got real good instinctive movements behind the plate. Very mechanical as they move around behind the plate, but Hinch seems to do everything by instinct, and that's a great sign.
So the count on A.J. Hinch, a ball and a strike. 7-0, Diamondbacks on top. And now time is called. And now we will go to play again. Hinch, Grieve, and Giambi here in the Oakland 4th. Line drive by Coles down the left field line, a base hit. Down toward the corner, DeLucci over to get the ball. And his ability to get the ball back in very quickly limits A.J. Hinch to a leadoff single here in the 4th.
That really was a nice play by DeLucci down there in the left field corner. Left-handed thrower, he had to wheel around and completely turn his body around to get that throw back to second. Get a good look at Hinch tomahawking that high pitch past Darnell Coles. Watch DeLucci as he fields this ball, spins around with his back to second base, and then makes an absolutely perfect throw right on the money. That's not as easy a play as he made it look right there.
No, not at all. David DeLucci still in the running for an outfield spot here with this Diamondbacks ball club. Here's Ben Grieve, who doubled his last time up. Big, powerful hitting left-handed batter, and the first one from Blair is down low, ball 1. Well, the minor league player of the year a year ago, he put up some staggering numbers. I know the Diamondbacks and their fans very pleased with what Travis Lee came up with. And these numbers by Grieve were unbelievable a year ago. He swings and hits one to center. Devon White right there, angling toward the baseball, makes the one-handed catch, and that's one man down. He was pretty smooth out there in center.
Very crafty. That's a veteran move out there. The sun is somewhat a factor today. And Devo turns his body to the side, so he's not looking directly at the sun. He's kind of got an angle on it, keeps the ball out of the sun so he can go over and make the catch.
Of course, Devon White played in Scottsdale yesterday. I saw him before the ballgame. Avid Suns fan, has Suns season tickets. And I said, Devo, did you go to the game last night? He says, man, I was too tired. I couldn't go. But he said they played well and they won. They beat the Sonics. Fly ball to left field. Here off the bat of Giambi. Back near the warning track is DeLucci. And he hauls it in, and that's out number 2. So Giambi went the other way. He flies out. Blair has done very, very well. Whoa. Judge getting closer and closer to us.
I think that one came around the light tower.
That was an A-10 Thunderbolt.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's one thing to see those things in the air a couple of miles away, but when they fly by close enough that you could hit them with a baseball, that's something else.
Well, the way the Diamondbacks have been hitting today, they may hit a few of those. The first pitch on the way to Shane Mack is down low, ball 1. Blue Angels will fly by later this afternoon. Shane Mack. He's been around for quite some time. I remember when he played collegiately at UCLA. Pitch on the way. 1-1 now from Blair.
Well, I mean, you got a ball game, you got beautiful weather, you got the air show. If they give you free Miller Lite, this would just about be the perfect day, I think.
0-2 here on Shane Mack. 2 outs in the inning. Hinch led off with a base hit. He's still at first base. and 2 strikes now. 11 men to the plate, and that's 7 runs. Second inning for the Diamondbacks. Mack, a right-handed batter. Flowers on deck, lead at first there by A.J. Hinch. And a tapper. Blair can't see it. Oh, he gets the ball in his glove and throws, and they got him at first. Blair could not see that ball, just stuck out the glove, and it went in. How about that? No runs, a hit, no errors, and a man left on base. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Diamondbacks 7, A's nothing. 7-0 Diamondbacks, and we're happy to have you aboard here this afternoon in Tucson. Well, the last play of the top of the 4th inning by Willie Blair was quite a play, Bob Brenly.
Well, you've heard of losing fly balls in the sun, but a ground ball, well, bounced high off the plate. Blair stayed with it very well, battled that sun, and stuck the glove out there, and the ball landed in.
It doesn't hurt to be lucky sometimes.
Rather be lucky than good.
Here's Chris Jones to lead things off, 1 for 2 in the ball game. Jones in a battle to make the opening day squad. Candiani with the knuckleball. Ball 1-1-0. Jones had a pretty productive spring. Batting average .326 with his 1 for 2 plate appearance today. He's driven in 11 runs. Two and 0 the count. Jones, Lee, and Bell here in the Diamondback 4th inning.
You can see Chris Jones take a peek down to third base there to see where he was being played by Mike Flowers.
He pops one up on the infield. Calling for the baseball is the second baseman Spezio, and just on the edge of the outfield grass, he hauls it in for out number 1. What's on tap? Brought to you by Miller Lite. Cactus League standings. Oakland has won more games than anyone in the Cactus League, but Anaheim and San Diego percentage points ahead as we start play today. The White Sox have won 15, Seattle 12, the Diamondbacks 14. Well, what does all that mean? Cactus League ball games. Diamondbacks playing their 28th game. They're 14-13. Does that mean a heck of a lot?
Well, all that in a quarter, and you can make a local phone call.
Here is Travis Lee. He takes a pitch down low, and the count goes to 2-0.
But I really think that the Diamondbacks, or at least Buck Showalter staff, has seen some things that they are very, very encouraged by. Winning the games is nice. That's a great bonus, but above and beyond that, they've played fundamentally sound baseball for the most part. They've gotten the performances they expected from the guys they were heavily counting on. They've had a few surprises at some positions, and you know, all in all, it's added up to a very good spring regardless of what the record is.
Lee takes a pitch down low, and the count has gone to 3 balls and a strike. On deck, it's Jay Bell. Boy, every time you see Travis Lee go to the plate, mouth just wants to water. I mean, this guy has the balls he hit last night, the one he hit today, the left center field ball. He draws a walk there, ball 4. He's got a good eye also. That's something that a lot of times is overlooked with a young hitter, but he and DeLucci seem to have very good eyes at the plate with an idea of where the pitch is going to end up.
And that's something that's really going to work in his favor depending on where he ends up hitting in this lineup. We all assume that he's going to end up in the 3 spot ahead of Matt Williams, but we're not really sure where he's going to end up. But if he is in that 3 spot and is willing to take that walk, that means the Ducks on base when Matt Williams comes up there, a chance to drive in some runs.
Jay Bell at the plate now. He has singled and tripled in the ball game and driven in a run. 2 for 2 is spring training average, up to 255. Start of the day at 222. Lee being held on at first. Pitches outside, ball 2. I guess this last week of spring training, you'll see more and more innings played by the everyday position players, right?
Absolutely, and more of an emphasis on the importance of winning the ball game, because you have your starters out there. Thom and I talked about it earlier in the broadcast. Now is when you really concentrate on the mental part of the game. What do you have to do to win, and then execute it?
3-0 very quickly here on Jay Bell. 1 out in the inning. Lee has walked with 1 out. He's at first base. DeLucci is on deck. Bell swinging on 3-0. Now he's taking all the way, and he takes a strike. I would guess Buck Showalter will probably maybe do a little more manage. Not that he hasn't been managing, but I'm talking about the hit and runs and maybe a little bit more of the in-game season approach to the last week of spring training?
I think you're absolutely right. As you mentioned, he has been managing throughout the spring, but it's been more of a situation of put guys in a situation and then see what they can do, what you want to see from them. As we get into the last week of spring training here, it's going to be more just manage the game to win. For example, Jay Bell, 3-0 count, maybe early in the spring, you say, go ahead and take a hack at it. I want to see if you're disciplined enough to swing at a good pitch 3-0. Later in the spring, maybe you have him go ahead and take a pitch because I know that you're disciplined enough, and I know during the regular season that you won't swing at a bad pitch 3-0. But for right now, we want you to get on base and set the table for the rest of the guys. So I think more of the managing from now on is going to be to win ball games.
Lee, the base runner to the left of the screen. Bell, the base runner at first. The 0-1 delivery and a tap by DeLucci is down the first baseline foul, and the count quickly. No balls and 2 strikes. DeLucci has walked and scored a run today and flied to center. Drew his 12th base on balls here in the spring. That's a high total for a young hitter like DeLucci. Shows a good eye at the plate. He takes one outside. 1-2 now.
Not only a good eye, but good patience. I mean, it's one thing to see that a pitch is out of the strike zone, but a lot of young hitters still swing at it anyway. They're so anxious to impress, show the coaching staff what they're capable of doing, but DeLucci refuses to go out of that zone.
Gandiotti looking back. 2-2 the count now. Big crowd on hand here this afternoon. Seats have filled in very nicely. Left field line, right field line. Diamondbacks, one of the best draws in all of spring training. Arizona or Florida. Now, you were talking about the good eye and the patience by DeLucci. Behind on the count 0-2. He's run it full at 3-2.
Yeah, that's just something you don't see from a lot of young players. Once you get them in a whole 0-2, the book usually is don't throw them another strike. They'll get themselves out.
See if the runners go here. They do not. And DeLucci draws yet another walk. The bases are loaded. One man out for Kelly Stinnett. Well, for information about Arizona Diamondbacks season tickets, group outings, party suites, or single game tickets, call area code 602-514-8400. Again, that number 602-514-8400. Kelly Stinnett has looked like Babe Ruth here today with his long doubles. His first extra base hits of the spring. Gandiotti now has walked 5 in the game. And that pitch briefly gets away from Hinch. It's a strike, but no advance by the base runner.
That shows you how tough it is to catch a knuckleball. That pitch was a strike right over the heart of the plate, and it still wasn't caught by A.J. Hinch. And A.J. Hinch is a pretty good receiver back there. You see him shaking his head. The ball is just constantly moving. You can never relax behind the plate when you're catching a knuckleballer.
How difficult is it when you go up and hit then? Are you still thinking about your catching? Stinnett goes deep to left. This will score a run. Mack makes the catch. Tagging at third base and coming in to score is Travis Lee. And the Diamondbacks have yet another run. It's 8-0. And Kelly Stinnett gets the job done with a sacrifice fly.
Stinnett has hit the ball hard every time up to 8. Perhaps hit that ball harder than the first 2, but unfortunately for him, had a little bit of top spin and hit it right at the left fielder, Shane Mack.
Another thing you see with these Diamondback players, everybody out to high-five the guy who just got the job done. And they're all in there both high-fiving Travis Lee, who walked and came around to score, and Stinnett, who got the sac fly. There's Darnell Coles. Cole's a right-handed batter, a veteran. He has struggled hitting this spring. 0 for 2 in the ballgame today, but he does have an RBI. He swings in the air down the left field line, backing out the shortstop Bornegal. Now Mack in foul territory, one-hands it for the out. So the Diamondbacks come up with a run, and they do so without a hit. We go to the 5th inning. 8-0 Diamondbacks. Welcome back to Fox Sports Arizona, your region of Fox Sports Net, and our coverage of Arizona Diamondbacks baseball. Along with Bob Brenly, I'm Greg Schulte. Happy to have you with us this afternoon, along with a very large crowd out here at Tucson Electric Park, as the Diamondbacks lead the Oakland Athletics by a score of 8-0 as we go to the 5th inning.
What was that? Somebody step on that thing. The Tucson Electric Dragon. There you go.
Got a little electricity in it.
I saw one of those in the corner of my garage the other day.
Well, you get the binoculars right. Nah, I like it better that way. Everything looks much smaller than me. Yeah, that way's okay too. Probably watching for the jets flying overhead. All right, we go to the 5th inning. Mike Blowers, Scott Spezio, Rafael Bornegal against Willie Blair. Blair has shut out the ace so far on 3 hits. He struck out 2 and has not walked a man. Mike Blowers, a veteran of many seasons in the majors. Line drive back at Blair, knocks it down off his glove, picked up by Bill, and he throws him out. What is it about Willie Blair and line drives back up the middle?
I don't know. He's going to have to release the ball and run one way or the other, because it seems like every time a ball is hit back through that box, it gets a piece of him. He got a smile on his face right now, but I'm sure there was a moment there when he was having flashbacks to Julio Franco, who struck him in the face with a line drive very similar to this last season.
I'll tell you what, that's scary. As long as he is got a smile on his face, I guess we can put one up too. It's an out. 1-6-3 on that put out over at first base. Tough way to get an assist, huh? Scott Spezio. Blair has pitched very well today.
Yes, he has. He's very economical with his pitches, as we talked about at the top of the show. Get ahead of the hitters early, try to make them do something early in the count, conserve pitches. And we also said he's not your typical pitcher, and he just proved that once again. He about had his head taken off with a line drive and came up with a smile on his face.
And he's not a left-hander. He's falling behind this hitter 2-0, and there is a check swing and a swing, says home plate umpire Mark Wegner to Scott Spezio, and the count is 2-1. Well, the thing about Blair, he's not going to strike out a lot, but he very seldom walks a batter.
Well, he's learned at this stage of his career that the best way to go about his job is to throw the ball over the plate and let his defense work behind him. That keeps them in the game. It keeps them alert. They're more likely to make good plays behind you. And it saves his arm. It allows him to work deeper into the ball game, come back his next start a little bit fresher than he would have been had he struck out, say, 5 or 6 batters, walked 3 or 4, and thrown a lot more pitches.
And let me ask you, with the infield the Diamondbacks are going to have out there every day, you want those guys to work, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Fly ball hit into shallow left center ball. It's going to carry out a little bit ways now. Devon White comes over and makes a catch for out number 2. Well, the Diamondbacks, of course, in the National League Western Division this season. Bob, your old ball club, the San Francisco Giants, won the West last year, 90-72. They've struggled this spring, and there are some questions about what the Giants will do in 98.
Well, the first bullet point is Dusty done. I don't think so. As long as Dusty Baker's there, that team is capable of doing anything. I mean, he took a team last year that had no business going to the postseason and milked them through that season. The other questions are perhaps a little bit more pressing, but I think Dusty will be there, and he will be well represented.
We'll talk about it. Well, the Diamondbacks come to bat in the bottom of the 5th inning. Side down in order for the A's. We go to the bottom of the 5th. 8-0 Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks bats alive and well here at Tucson Electric Park today. They're on top of the Oakland Athletics 8-0, along with Bob Brenly, Greg Schulte, welcoming you back. There's a cute little lady making her way.
In the house right there.
Got the little straw hat on. That little guy sipping a Pepsi. Well, let's get back to the Giants, Bob. We talked about Dusty Baker. Now, a couple of other questions. Oral Hershiser is now a Dodger, and now a Giant. Was a Dodger one time. And who's going to protect Barry Bonds?
Well, I think the Oral Hershiser situation will be a lot tougher for the fans to deal with than the players. Of course, the players are very familiar with guys moving from team to team, and it has been a few years removed since Oral was a Dodger, and you know, I think the players have pretty much accepted him over there, and Dusty Baker has raved about his work habits and what he brings. As you get a look at Willie Blair slapping one down the left field line, looks like he's going to get 2.
He goes into second base. That ball got by the third baseman for the Oakland A's. Mike Blowers down there, and in at second with a double is Willie Blair. Go ahead.
course, once again, the problem is going to be who's going to protect Barry Bonds in that lineup. Every year he seems to go up. His walk total goes up another 5 or 10 every year. And I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be for Dusty Baker this year. Kind of probably depends on who's in the lineup on a particular day, where they hit, and who ends up in that spot behind Barry. But Barry's going to get his numbers. That's not going to be the problem. I think the problem with the Giants perhaps will be, can Jeff Kent repeat? Can he have the career year like he had last year? The shortstop situation, Rich Aurelio, Ray Sanchez, is that going to be settled?
So a lot of questions for the Giants, but again, they are the defending Western Division champions in the National League. And we'll see what happens. Devon White at the plate. He homered in the second inning. A 2-run shot over the right center field wall. Walked his last time up. Switch hitter batting from the left side. Andy Fox moves on deck. Willie Blair on at second with a leadoff double. 9th hit of the ball game for the Diamondbacks against Candy Alley. This one into center field. Blair goes about halfway. Christensen makes a catch. Well, that one didn't fly quite far enough, but we know that ball in the second inning, the home run that went to right center field, flew way out of here. According to America West Airlines, Devon White's home run traveled 402 feet. And Devon White hit his second spring training home run for the Diamondbacks, and at that time it was a 5-0 ball game. Right now it's 8-0. You like Andy Fox. You mentioned right away when the ball club made the trade with the Yankees, that was a good deal. I
really felt it was, not only because of his versatility. He could play anywhere in the infield. He could play outfield if you wanted him to. Great speed. I mean, deceptively good speed for a guy that's 6'4" and probably weighs close to 200 pounds. And we've mentioned in other broadcasts that he's had the kind of power that occasionally it'll make you scratch your head and wonder, man, why doesn't this guy hit more home runs? But Jim Presley and the rest of the coaching staff have been working, changing some mechanical things in his approach at home plate, and they think he will be able to drive the ball more. I don't know if he'll be a big home run hitter, but he'll certainly be able to hit the ball with a lot more authority than he was with the New York Yankees.
Well, he had a home run yesterday in Scottsdale, his first of the spring.
And he seems to be a good guy in the clubhouse, too. The players really seem to enjoy having him around. He's always got a smile on his face, and he likes to put the needle to the guys now and then. And I'm sure he's got a bunch of New York stories. It's always fun to get a guy from the Yankees on your club because they come over there with just a locker full of stories about George Steinbrenner and in days past Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson and of course different Yankees now, but I'm sure there's just as many stories.
You saying there are many stories in the Naked City?
Yes, there are.
Fox tries to go the other way and he shoots it foul into the big crowd here at Tucson Electric Park. 1-2. Boy, it's hard to believe that 1 week from today we'll be at the ballpark already, Bank One, getting ready for the final exhibition game as the White Sox are in town. Fox takes strike 3. Cost him on the inside corner. I don't think he liked the call, but he is punched out of there, and my statistics say that's the first strikeout for Candy Alley.
That is the first strikeout, and if you remember at the opening, the bullet point we had about a sneaky fastball, there it is right there. That pitch is probably between 75 and 80 miles an hour, and you can see Andy Fox couldn't pull the trigger on it. He lulls you to sleep with that knuckleball and the slow curve, and when he thinks the opportune time is there, he'll sneak that fastball by you.
Chris Jones at the plate, and he fouls one out of play. Jones, a right-handed batter, battling for an outfield spot here with the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks about hit the A's today, 9-3. We are there, Fox Sports News primetime. Tune in tonight for all the latest scores and highlights. That's coming up tonight. Chris Jones, been around with a lot of ball clubs. He's usually a very good pinch hitter, whatever team he's playing for. He swings and hits one into left center field. On his horse is Christensen, and he makes a one-handed catch to retire Jones and the Diamondbacks here in the 5th inning. They get a hit, the Blair double, and that's it. We go to the 6th here in Tucson, 8-0 Arizona. Well, we welcome you back to Tucson Electric Park. The Diamondbacks on top of the Oakland Athletics by a score of 8-0. Along with Bob Brenly, I'm Greg Scholey. We're joined by Diamondback General Manager Joe Garagiola, and I know you've got to be very pleased with the way this Diamondback ball club's been hitting the ball the last few days.
Been very nice to see. We had a little spring training version of the dog days of summer, I guess, earlier this week, but the last 3 nights have been a lot of fun. And with the knuckleballer, you never know how it's going to go, but our boys have come out and waited on him pretty well and put the ball in play a few times.
Seems to be the key, and they've hit the ball extremely well against Candiota here today. As we go to the 6th inning here, Willie Blair will face a pinch hitter, Jack Voigt, who's going to come out and bat for the pitcher, Thom Candiota. Joe, the ball club made a few roster moves a little bit earlier this afternoon before today's ball game. You want to explain those for us?
Well, the moves, which were Eddie Diaz, Mike Robertson, and Tom Wilson, were really to get these guys over to the minor league camp where they can get a little more playing time. We're to the point now where the regulars need to stretch it out whenever they can, as the games are dwindling down. We're down to, I think, 7 games after today, so it's important that those guys get ready to play the season in Tucson.
Voigt with a count of 0-1. He takes the pitch from Willie Blair, and the count quickly 0-2. Diaz is a young man who I thought sparkled defensively for you here in the spring.
Oh, no question. I think he showed everybody that he, without question, has the tools to play second base in the major leagues.
0-2 here from Willie Blair to Jack Voigt, and that pitch is outside, and the count goes to a ball and 2 strikes. Diaz, as we see right here, a young man who has got a lot of upstart to his game, did not hit that well in the spring, but he hasn't had a full season in AAA yet. He's only been at AA. There's a strikeout as Voigt is called out for Blair's 3rd strikeout here of the afternoon.
One of the things that we're excited about with Diaz, as well as Danny Clausen, is the opportunity for both of them to work with Chris Spire here in Tucson. Chris, of course, a tremendous infielder throughout his major league career, and it's really going to be graduate school for these 2 young guys.
I would think with 19 years of major league experience, he'd have a few things to offer.
Chris was a former teammate of mine, and I can attest to that. They will get an education on middle infield play that they will not forget anytime soon.
Absolutely right, Bob.
You know, Diaz, a lot of people from Puerto Rico who watch those guys play in winter ball and watch them play in their developmental years.
Pitch hit out into deep left field, and this one is going to reach the seats, or I should say the grass out there, beyond the left center field wall, off the bat of Ryan Christensen, and the A's have their first run of the afternoon. It's now 8-1.
Well, before Ryan Christensen so rudely interrupted, I was about to say that people I've talked to that are close to the Puerto Rican Winter League say that people compare Diaz very favorably with Roberto Alomar. They think that perhaps defensively alone now that he can hold his own, if not a little better than Alomar as a defensive second baseman.
Well, I think he showed us plenty of love this spring. As you were saying, Greg, he needs to face a better quality of pitching. See a lot of breaking balls. Just really needs to play every day and get his 500 at bats.
Here's A.J. Hinch, the catcher for the Oakland Ball Club, and he sends one into left field down the line. That's a base hit. Will rattle around in the corner, sends a couple of birds scurrying, and Hinch pulls into second with a stand-up double. So a home run and a double here with 1 out. The A's have something going in the 6th inning against Willie Blair, and the batter will be Ben Grieve. There are a lot of difficult decisions to make here the next day or so, or are there? Let me rephrase that. Are there a lot of difficult decisions?
There are a number of difficult decisions that we'll need to make this upcoming week, both with the players that are here in camp and watching the waiver wire every day. This is the week when you see a lot of pretty interesting names emanating from both Florida and Arizona. So we're far from the finish line yet.
Ben Grieve takes one down low. Ball 1. And of course you and Buck will be huddling day in and day out as far as how you want to form this roster as we get down to nitty-gritty time in that opening day on March 31st.
Well, as a matter of fact, we had all of our scouts who've been working the camps in Florida come in today, and starting tomorrow we'll meet every night to have them involved in this final decision-making process.
Blair in his 6th inning of work here in Tucson. He throws one down low to Ben Grieve. And the count goes to 2 balls, no strikes.
You know, Joe, we've kind of been speculating all along, and perhaps we asked you last time you were here, 11 or 12 pitchers on the staff to start the season. Have you made that decision yet?
We have not. We have not. We look at our schedule. The first 29 days of the season, we play 27 games. Very few of those have any chance to be weathered out. Really, it's the 3 games in St. Louis where we have a chance to have some bad weather. Other than that, we're on the West Coast and in Atlanta and Florida. So that's a tough decision, because obviously you take that 12th pitcher and it cuts out a position player.
Blair throws high to Grieve inside, ball 3-0. Well, we of course very ecstatic about our young first baseman Travis Lee. This A's ball club, they really like Ben Grieve, the young hitter here for the A's.
Well, and as well they should, just like the Rockies really like Todd Helton. I think this is, things kind of go in cycles. And a couple of years ago, when you had Rodriguez, Jeter, and Garcia Parra all kind of coming up, and all of a sudden young first baseman, and it's just going to be exciting to watch all of them. But probably no one's surprised. I'll take our guy.
Count is 3-1 here on Grieve, and it's a great thing about baseball. You've got some rookies that will do what they're expected to do when they come up, but you also have some surprises each and every year. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's what happens in the spring. Guys step forward and do some things that maybe you weren't expecting.
Willie Blair has just walked his first batter of the ball game. Is he on a pitch count today, or are they going to try and get him 6?
I think they're going to try to get him 6. This is the time of the spring when you've got to start stretching your starters out. Andy yesterday, and really from here on out, we're going to try to get our guys to go 6.
And really, he cruised through 3 of the first 5 innings. He retired the side in order, gave up 1 base hit in the 4th inning, so he hasn't really thrown a lot of pitches. So
yeah, I doubt if his pitch counts real high at this point.
Hector Carrasco running down to the bullpen area. And the first pitch is down low to Jason Giambi. Let me ask you about the closer's role. The 2 guys that you've thrown out there every day, Carrasco and Rodriguez, have pitched very well this spring.
Well, they both have. Felix struggled a little bit last night, really for the first time, and made the mistake that a lot of guys have made, trying to throw a fastball by Vinny Castilla, and the same result obtained that usually obtains.
It was a foul ball hit by Giambi.
But Felix has had a great spring, and he really seems to be getting more comfortable in that role.
He's a very interesting player, and he was a player that you traded for prior to the expansion draft, a prearranged deal with Cincinnati that probably leaves them scratching their head a little bit, wondering what did we do.
Well, there again, I have to give all the credit to our scouts, particularly Ed Durkin, who recommended Felix Rodriguez from the beginning, and we had the chance to work that deal with Cincinnati. Eddie said, go get Felix Rodriguez, and we're very happy.
He's a converted catcher too, and he seems, if you look at, he was just catching a few years ago. I mean, he has made the move quick as a pitcher.
Yes, he has, and that's why you get guys like that with a great arm, and before you give up on him, the last stop ought to be the mound and see if you can make something happen there.
Well, catchers can do that kind of thing. You just can't take any old player and stick him out there on the mound. You can do that with a catcher.
I've always felt that catchers were by far the most versatile people on the field.
Hey, there's a double play right to Andy Fox. He steps on the bag. Joe, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Okay, Joe Garagiola Jr., Diamondbacks Vice President General Manager with us. 8-1 Diamondbacks. A1 Diamondbacks here at the bottom of the 6th inning at Tucson Electric Park. A sunny day requires the shades. Some rosy cheeks right there, huh?
He's going to look like a raccoon tomorrow unless he's got sunscreen on.
Well, what's on tap brought to you by Miller Lite. Our Fox Sports Arizona Diamondbacks April schedule. April 1st against the Rockies. 7th and 8th, the Dodgers. That's in Los Angeles. April 10th in San Diego against the Padres. April 15th in St. Louis. Busch Stadium against the Redbirds. And then April 22nd and 24th in Atlanta against the Braves. You talk about an attractive schedule. Rockies, Dodgers, Padres, Cardinals, and Braves. They should all be in there.
I think I'll go to some of those games.
Wow. Aaron Small's the new pitcher for the Oakland Athletics. Thom worked 5 innings, surrendered 9 hits. He gave up a total of 8 runs. And he struck out 1 as I've got it and walked 5. So Candiotti struggling today. And the first batter is Travis Lee. You notice, Bob, the 2 times we've had Joe Garagiola Jr. up here, the big smile that goes on his face when we talk about Travis Lee.
And why not? Why not?
There's a swing and a miss by Lee, and the count goes to 0-2. Aaron Small on the hill. Lee 2 for 3. Now the average back up to 333. This just misses inside. A ball and 2 strikes.
And I'm sure at some time this season we're going to see teams testing Travis Lee. We'll probably see Travis picking himself up off the ground a few times. Teams are going to try to knock him down, try to intimidate him, push him off the plate, see what he's made of, and I'm sure he'll bounce right back up and do his thing. He just seems like nothing phases him. He's a professional hitter.
He strikes out for the first out here in the 6th, and that'll bring up Jay Bell. So Lee back to the dugout. Jay Bell has had a productive afternoon for the Diamondbacks, who are up by 7 here. Jay, a right-handed batter. New baby Brock born this last week. So he's a happy daddy again. Bell has a single and a triple and a walk. He's scored a run and driven in a run. He taps one back to the mound. Small has it, and there are 2 quick outs here in the 6th inning.
But this is not unusual to see when you take a knuckleball pitcher out of the game and bring in a traditional fastball slider type pitcher. You saw Travis Lee take a funny swing, and you saw Jay Bell take a very defensive swing. The guy, it takes a little while to mentally readjust yourself back onto that fastball again.
Thank goodness there aren't many knuckleballers around in baseball today, right? There's David DeLucci, who has walked twice. What's new about that? He leads all of Major League Baseball here in spring training with bases on balls. He takes a strike. DeLucci officially 0 for 1. That fly ball to center, back up the middle, base hit. DeLucci has his first safety of the game, and for the Diamondbacks, that's hit number 10, the first on against Small. And DeLucci making a late push here in spring training, trying to make Buck Showalter's job just a little bit more difficult.
And you know it's going to be difficult. Everything about David DeLucci, I think, is he does things Buck Showalter likes. He's a down and dirty, gritty kind of a ball player. He'll take a walk. He'll break up double plays. He'll dive in the dirt, jump over the fences. He'll do anything you ask him to do. And you got to believe those are the kind of players Buck likes.
Kelly Stinnett has had quite an afternoon. A pair of doubles, a couple of RBIs, a sacrifice fly. And I think he's pretty much locked up that backup spot behind the plate. He's got his 3rd hit of the game down the line and left. Base hit. DeLucci stops at second. Kelly Stinnett, who came in hitting .333, is a perfect 3 for 3 today.
You know, there are those people in the Brewers organization who feel that Kelly Stinnett was going to get a legitimate opportunity to be the everyday catcher for the Brewers this season.
Well, you look at the 3 players that the Brewers lost to this ball club, the Diamondbacks. Kelly Stinnett, probably the backup catcher. Danny Clausen, who the Diamondbacks are just ecstatic about, will be playing here in Tucson. And then Joel Adamson, the left-handed pitcher, will be in the rotation. That's a pretty good commodity right there.
And once again, talking to people from the Brewers, they were really hurt. I mean, they felt perhaps Adamson would go. They felt perhaps Stinnett would go. But Clausen, they thought he was hidden down there and wouldn't be found.
High fly ball foul. Left field line. It'll go into the seats. And Milwaukee is really a ball club that can't afford to get hit like that.
No, not really. I mean, budgetary constraints in the small market up there. They're not able to get a lot of free agents to come to Milwaukee, and they try to develop players from within the organization. And when they get attacked and lose 3 guys, that really hurts.
Darnell Coles 0 for 3 in the ball game today, but he does have an RBI. DeLucci at second, Stinnett at first. There's a breaking pitch in there, and it's 1-2. Well, the wind hasn't been a factor here today. One of the first times we haven't seen that wind whipping around to right field or straight out to center or out to left. A very pleasant day in Tucson for most. For Wildcat fans, it's the morning after, right?
Yes, it is. Very, very rough morning for the Wildcat fans. It's probably a good thing the wind isn't blowing out. We'd be out of baseballs by now. The way that second inning went for the Diamondbacks.
Darnell Coles at the plate. It's been a tough spring. 179 for Darnell coming in. 0 for 3 today. And that's ball 3, so the count full, and the old merry-go-round. The runners will leave off of first and second. Bellucci off of second base and Stinnett off first.
This is a very dangerous situation for a base runner. You have to make sure they don't pull some kind of a trick pickoff play. We used to call it the spaghetti move, where the pitcher comes into his set position in the stretch and then wheels all the way back around towards second base, trying to pick that runner off second, because he is going to be moving with the pitch.
3-2. Runners go. Foul ball. Third base side. That ball's fair. It scores 2. Instead, it's foul, and the runners return. What's been, Bob, you've watched a lot of ball games here up in Phoenix too with this Diamondback ball club. What has surprised you? You knew about a Travis Lee. He's held his own, but any player or position that surprised you?
Well, I'm a little surprised that Tony Batista has hit the ball as well as he has. We've heard he was a good offensive player, but he really has impressed.
Drive to left field. Man goes back, can't get it, up against the wall, and it looks like the Diamondbacks will score 2. Here comes Stinnett lumbering in. He scores on the 2-run double off the bat of Darnell Coles, and it's now a 10-1 ball game. That got caught a little short there in left field.
And you can just see throughout the course of that at bat, Darnell Coles getting a little closer and a little closer, fouled the ball hard down the third base line, and finally gets a pitch that he can keep fair. Hits it off the base of the fence out in left center. Shane Mack goes right straight back to the fence. No chance to catch this ball as it short hops up against the fence. And more runs for the D-backs.
And for Darnell Coles, who, as we've mentioned, has struggled with the batting average this spring, a big at-bat. Ground ball to short. Nice play by Bornegall, and he throws out Blair to end the 6th inning. The Diamondbacks come up with a pair of runs. Thom Brennaman's back to join the 7th. Bob Brenly, I enjoyed it. Strike Schulte, 10-1 Diamondbacks.
Well, we're back at Tucson Electric Park. It's been all Diamondbacks here today. A 10-1 ball game. Everybody sitting. Willie Blair is pitching, and not much to argue about so far.
Well, it's been a great day. The Jets will be roaring a little bit more as the day goes on here. We've seen a few, but most of the missiles we've seen today have come off the bats of the Diamondbacks.
And obviously, Tom Candiotti roughed up early on. The Diamondbacks, offensively speaking, have just torn him up, and a little later Aaron Small. But Darnell Coles, another guy, Bobby, we didn't talk a lot about early in the telecast, but he's trying to win a job on this team, and a big base hit for him right there.
Big base hit today. He got off to a very slow start this spring. He said he felt he was hitting the ball good, but he just wasn't getting the base hits, and that's a common thing that happens in the game of baseball. You go through stretches where you're hitting the ball good, not getting base hits, and then the opposite will happen. You'll hit a lot of flares and broken bat hits, and they'll drop in.
Willie Blair takes the ball, and he is pitching into the 7th inning here today. He's only allowed 1 run on 5 base hits. And Shane Mack to begin things. He looks at ball 1. Barry Butel standing by with shortstop Jay Bell. Barry.
Thank you, Tom. With Jay Bell, another outing here under nice, extremely nice conditions here at Tucson Electric Park.
Yeah, it really is. It's been beautiful the last 3 weeks or so since that early rain, but you know, it's just so nice to get back into real spring training weather again, and we're looking forward to the opener next week. 9
days away until that opener. How are you ready to go? Are you in opening day form?
Well, you know, certainly part of me wants to be back home. There's no question about that, but I'm having a ball here right now, and we really are looking forward to it. It's really exciting knowing that the opening of Bank 1 is going to be right around the corner, and we certainly think that we're going to be okay this year.
I know everybody's watching back home, Laura, and congratulations on Brock. I know you want to say hello.
Yeah, I tell you what, I miss you guys, and you know, certainly I wish I was home right now. But, Brianna and Brock are doing great, and Laura is doing great, so I just wish they were here right now.
And congratulations, Jay Bell and his lovely wife Laura, on the birth of Brock, guys.
Hi, Barry. Thank you very much. An error committed by the shortstop, Andy Fox, who has just moved from second base to shortstop. And now the batter is Mike Blowers. First pitch swinging, lets a lazy fly ball into right, and Chris Jones is there for out number 1 here in the 7th inning.
Well, Bobby, you went through that, and I think sometimes we forget about it. You know, ball players, people talk about the money they make and the glamorous lifestyle and all that kind of thing, but just like everybody else, you have a new addition to the family, and Jay just can't pick up and all of a sudden get out of here and go back to be with his wife.
And you know that's exactly what he would like to do, just even for just a couple of days, you know, maybe take a couple of days off the last week of spring, but that's just not the nature of the business. You know, you just need to plan those kind of things a little better. Yeah.
And there are ways to do that, I'm told. Batter now Scott Spezio. Breaking ball in the inside corner, knee high. How about Willie Blair today? First time, not only did he's pitched into the 7th inning, it's the first time all spring he has gone 6 innings full. And he's only allowed 5 base hits and 1 run. The home run with 1 out to Christensen 1 inning ago.
And this is the kind of performance I'm sure that the Diamondbacks hoped when they signed Willie Blair. He's getting ahead of the hitters. He's working fast, keeps his defense on their toes, trying to limit his pitch count. And that's exactly what they expected from him.
Very solid numbers for Blair, who's been most impressive, in fact, the entire spring. Andy Bennis really had his first good outing, if you will, yesterday afternoon. That one swung on and fouled out of play. It's 0-2 to Spezia. It's kind of funny, Buck Showalter telling us before the game yesterday that Andy Bennis told him, hey, look, put on blindfolders until the 20th of March, and then I'll come out and be ready to roll. Well, yesterday was the 21st of March, and Andy Bennis goes 6 innings and allows only 2 runs. Number back to the mound, knocked down by Blair. He'll get the sure out at first, and it's the 2nd of the inning.
Well, veteran pitchers who have a track record have that luxury to come to spring training and use it as preparation time and not time to knock the coach's eyes out. Young pitchers have to come in here and do something spectacular to gain the attention of the coaching staff and then continue to build on that. Veteran pitchers who have a track record just need to keep in mind that opening day is, you know, a month away. You just need to get ready for opening day. I think back to guys like Rick Russell and Don Robinson and Mike Krukow in my days with the Giants, and those guys would get whacked around in spring training like the hitters knew what was coming, but come opening day it was a different story.
Hey, we'd like to remind you, you can come down and visit Bank One Ballpark before opening night. Everyone is invited to tour the ballpark Tuesday through Friday. That's this week from 4 to 10 p.m. and on Saturday the 28th from 7 a.m. to noon. Admission, you bet. It'll cost you a can of food to be donated to local area food banks. Very nice cause there put together by the Diamondbacks, and it gives you an opportunity to help others and look at Bank One Ballpark, and I promise you will not come away disappointed. Back at second base, 2 down in the inning, and Bornegal hitless in 2 at-bats and make it 3 at-bats. Right at Darnell Coles, and he will flip on to second and get the out there of the runner Mack to retire the side. No runs, no hits in air, 1 man left. Time to stand up and stretch. Diamondbacks lead by 9. I'd like to welcome you back to Fox Sports Arizona, your region of Fox Sports Net, and our coverage of Arizona Diamondbacks baseball this summer. 10-1 ball game. Thom Brennaman, Bob Brenly back in Tucson as the air show continues. Those are the Blue Angels, if I'm not mistaken.
It's either that or the UCLA Jet team. I'm not sure.
That is just amazing, isn't it?
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Yes. Doesn't matter which branch of the military you're talking about. Our men and women just go out there and get it done. And ain't nobody else interested in fooling around with them. Devon White leading things off. And he fouls it away. It's 1-1. Debo has been aboard twice. He's 1 of 3 in the game. Get the 2-run home run to the second, walked in the third, and here come the Blue Angels again.
They flew right in the window of that building, and they're going to come out the other side. That's how good they are.
They could do it if anybody could do it.
You know, you're getting ready to embark on a very long year of traveling, a lot of plane rides, and I kind of got the sneaking suspicion at times as we were bouncing around the country last year as Devo hits one down to Giambi, and that's an easy play. But I mean, all the flying you've done all these years, you seemed like you were a little apprehensive at times last summer.
Yeah, not
just
at
the
all.
kind of feel I had. No,
not at all. Just those few times where if we didn't make our connector, we were going to have to spend the night in Newark, New Jersey. That made me a little nervous, but
no, you're getting that city wrong. That would have been Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Fort Lee, New Jersey.
Right.
Excuse me. Now, once we get up in the air, I put my life in the hands of that pilot.
In there, a strike to Andy Fox. Well, we'll be doing plenty of that this summer and very much looking forward to it. Diamondbacks baseball all summer long. Each and every day there's a swing and a miss. 0-2 to Andy Fox. And of course it all gets underway on March 31st. The Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks at Bank One Ballpark. 3 games against the Rockies, 3 games against the Giants. And then on the road take on the Dodgers in their home opener. Then move from there to San Diego, and then a final stop on that opening trip at St. Louis. Soft liner over the glove of Bornegall in the left center field. A base hit for Andy Fox, his second. You know, we've been talking about the other teams in the National League West, and for the last number of years, the overwhelming favorite on paper has been Bill Russell's team. But what do you think about this year?
Well, they've had a lot of question marks in the past. A lot of people question their guts. They've got the talent to win, but they don't win. They had a lot of problems last year. It seemed to be getting along. And now Eric Karros has been sent back to Los Angeles to have his knee checked out. So there's a possibility that Karros won't be with the team to start the season, which would presumably open up a place for Paul Konerko, a very fine young rookie. But still a lot of question marks on a team that has as many good players as they do. It's still hard to figure out why the Dodgers don't win. On paper, they have the best pitching every year going into the season in the division. Certainly, it seems enough offense to win, but for whatever reason, they just can't seem to put it all together.
Of course, the sale finally being approved just the other day at the owners' meetings as Chris Jones is behind 0-2. That Peter O'Malley will finally officially sell the ball club to Rupert Murdoch, heading up the Fox Group. And be careful what you say. Rupert Murdoch is our boss. But I know many in baseball are very happy to have Rupert Murdoch, Ted Turner notwithstanding. There are others that are very pleased to have him involved as an owner in Major League Baseball.
Well, he's a very competitive man, and you know he's going to try to make that Dodgers team into a winner. People assume he's just going to start writing checks and assemble an all-star team, a fantasy league all-star team down there. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't either.
I think he's going to try to do everything reasonably within his power to be a competitive owner. He's going to try to do everything he can to battle the other owners at the same time putting a winning club on the field.
I do, however, have a sneaking suspicion that Rupert Murdoch would love nothing more than to have the Los Angeles Dodgers eventually go toe-to-toe with the Atlanta Braves and find a way to defeat the Braves to move on to the World Series. Just a suspicion.
Well, I think you're probably right. Stay tuned right after The Simpsons.
Brent Brady bats for the first time, and it's a line drive at Bornegall, and that'll end the inning. So we will fly on to the top half of the 8th, where the Diamondbacks lead the 8 10-1. The Diamondbacks on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by the Room Store, where we put it all together to save you more at the Room Store. And by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. Fans being treated here at Tucson Electric Park to the nearby air show, as well as Diamondbacks baseball. And a very good afternoon for Buck Showalter's team, leading as we have played 7 complete, 10-1. 10 runs, 13 hits for the Diamondbacks, only 1 run on 5 hits off of Willie Blair, his 7 innings in the books. And now taking over on the mound for the Diamondbacks, right-hander Russ Springer. See the numbers on Springer during Cactus League play, and they're not very good. But Bob, you brought it up earlier, the fact that a manager like Buck Showalter, well aware of the fact Springer, a veteran pitcher, and what he does in spring training doesn't necessarily have anything to do with whether or not he's going to make this team, because all indications are he will be there.
And a lot of times in spring training, because of the limited number of innings that a pitcher pitches or the limited number of at-bats that a batter gets, if you have one bad outing where you go out and blow up and walk a couple guys and give up a dinger, a double, whatever, suddenly your ERA is very gaudy, and you're battling the rest of the spring trying to catch up. That's what Darnell Coles has been doing, playing third base today, trying to catch up from a slow start to spring. So I think you're right. They know the history of these guys. They know what they're capable of doing, and unless there's a physical problem, you don't really get too concerned with it.
Jack Boyd the batter, and Springer a good live fastball knee high on the outside is a strike. Springer a real workhorse last season with Houston. 29 years old and a native of Alexandria, Louisiana. Swing and a miss, and good night, Jack Boyd. Springer pitched 55 in the third innings last year for Houston and fanned 74 batters, so he is very much a power pitcher.
And this is a good example of it right here. Good four-seam fastball on the outside part of the plate. That ball did not really move towards the ground whatsoever. Usually a fastball will have a little bit of an arc in it. That was a big curveball there. You can see a big arc in that pitch. But that fastball really held its track all the way to home plate. You know, they used to talk about guys like Doc Gooden and Nolan Ryan, the really hard throwers. They would say their fastball would rise as it comes to the plate. Well, it doesn't really rise, but it doesn't go down either. The effect of gravity doesn't affect the ball as much because they throw so hard. Springer seems to have that ability to ride that fastball.
0-2 to Christensen, who accounted for the only Oakland run of the game when he poked a solo home run to left center in the sixth. And there's strike three called on the outside corner, so Springer making it look easy today. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the eighth.
Yeah, I don't know what he's looking for here. Fastball right down the heart of the plate. Must have been guessing knuckleball.
And you wouldn't recommend that.
No. You know, usually with two strikes, a hitter will just go up there and, you know, you look for the ball. You kind of get an idea of where the strike zone is, and if the ball's close to the strike zone, you try to slap it in play somewhere, especially a leadoff hitter. But normally you don't take them right down the middle, guessing.
A.J. Hinch has had a good afternoon. 2 of 3 has bounced to short, single to left, then doubled down the left field line in the 6th inning. And he looks at a strike. He did drift too far off the second base bag, however, in that 6th inning. Runners at first and second and only one out. And Giambi hit a bullet right at Andy Fox, then the second baseman, and he easily doubled him up. 0-2. Diamondbacks threw a 7 spot on the board back in the second inning, sending 11 men to the plate, and they never look back. They lead 10-1. 1-2 now to Hinch.
And you perhaps saw the sign there from catcher Kelly Stinnett. He went through a group of signs. They ended up with the little finger pointing towards the outside corner of the plate. That's just a signal for a fastball away from a right-handed hitter. If he wants a fastball inside, chances are he'll put the index finger down, maybe even put the index finger down and point it towards the hitter a little bit, meaning give me the fastball on the inside part of the plate. There you see a 3. That's probably a slider.
Foul out of play, and it was.
Indeed it was. Pitch it'll kind of in between a fastball and a curve. It doesn't really break that much. If it's thrown well, it breaks very late and just moves enough to get off the sweet spot of the bat, out towards the end of a right-hander's bat. Get an easy ground ball, easy pop-up. There's that fastball away. You can see that pinky finger come out there, and Stinnett moves out on the outside corner. Springer does not hit the target. It's a check swing foul ball. That was another thing that I'm sure was a major adjustment early in spring training. Guys coming from different organizations, different teams use different signs, different sequences. And I'm sure that took a while to get used to. Fastball inside.
And just a high heat. Springer fans the side in the 8th inning. We head to the bottom half of the 8th. 10-1. Diamondbacks in front. Ten-1 ball game. Diamondbacks in front as they come to bat here in the bottom half of the 8th inning against Jim Doherty, the new Oakland right-hander. Third pitcher used today by manager Art Howe. Well, here's our Discover card. Payback playback as Edwin Diaz fouls away the first pitch. Here you go, Bobby.
Here it is. Put the lemon down. Oh, man. I had it. I had it right in my hand. Look at this guy.
And that was truly a lemon.
That's a sourpuss right there. Now he's cooling off. Now he's ready for the next one, though. You can be pretty sure he's ready for the next one. There it is.
Down there by him.
And he still has the water bottle. This guy just doesn't learn. Send him back to the minor league camp.
Well, he's already here in Tucson.
Let him sit at a few AAA games till he figures out you're supposed to put down anything you got in your hands and try to catch the ball.
And look at his buddies down there. I mean, they've all got gloves. You know, the two guys right next to him. Short hop down to first, and Diaz retired.
What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I think you said it. He's going to have to hang around here for a number of Sidewinders games for a while.
I mean, that's one of the basics. If you go to a clinic, they don't tell you the first thing you want to do if you want to be a good fielder is, you know, put fruit in one hand and try to barehand the ball. No. Get ready. Get a glove on. Get ready. Anticipate every ball is going to be hit to you, right?
You watch some teams long enough and you'll see guys that play defense like they have fruit in their hands.
Yeah, they catch the ball like they've been eating buttered popcorn all day.
David DeLucci swings and fouls it out of play. You know, we were talking to Ron Allen over on the radio side, Bobby, and he really believes that perhaps the most difficult decision of any player on the Diamondbacks team from now until opening day about what to do with is this fellow right here, David DeLucci. He always finds a way to get on base. Double-digit walk totals during the spring. Today, no different. He's been to the plate 4 times, has walked twice, has a base hit, has scored 2 runs, plays anywhere in the outfield, and he can run a little bit. And there's not a lot of team speed on this Diamondback club.
He really brings a lot to the table. He gives Buck Showalter a lot of options, a lot of different, almost a lot of different personalities as one player. And we talked about it earlier. He's a gritty player. He likes to dive. He likes to get dirty. He reminds me a lot of a former teammate of mine who, you know, was never really a starting player at the major league level. A guy by the name of Mike Aldretti that bounced around to several teams, but he was a tremendous defensive outfielder. Had a great eye at the plate, a good contact hitter, would do anything to help the ball club win. And Aldretti was one of those kind of guys.
Well, what's on tap brought to you by Miller Lite. Some of the spring surprises for the Diamondbacks this year.
I don't know if you could call Travis Lee a surprise. Tony Batista certainly a pleasant surprise. You see with the 3 home runs. Felix Rodriguez and Joel Adamson both making their claim on this pitching staff. Adamson had a great performance last night against the Rockies, and Rodriguez, with the exception of the fastball he tried to sneak by Vinny Castilla, he had a very good performance.
Not a lot of guys do that to Vinny Castilla.
You better be in triple digits if you're going to try to throw a ball by Vinny Castilla.
And here's another guy, Kelly Stinnett. Had a wonderful afternoon. 3 out of 3 has knocked in 2 runs, has doubled twice, and he has scored twice.
Well, when Greg was in the booth, Tommy, we talked about the fact that there were some people within the Brewers organization that felt that Kelly Stinnett was going to challenge for the starting job this year with the Brewers. He's got that kind of pop with the bat, very solid defensively behind the plate. Has some mechanical things he does when he throws occasionally that lets his throw get a little bit long as we get a look at the starting catcher, George Fabregas, but very easily remedied. As a matter of fact, one of the problems that he has, his throw gets a little long behind the plate. They have him go to the middle infield and turn double plays to get used to taking the ball out of his glove and getting into a throwing position very quickly. And that helps him when he goes back behind the plate. And besides that, he's built like a catcher.
Oh, yeah. That one just off the inside corner from Doherty, and it's 3-2 on Kelly Stinnett.
Look at that good wide base. Looks like a brick wall.
3-2 pitch, and there's a nasty hook that got him looking to end the inning. 1-2-3 go the Diamondbacks. We head for the ninth. A 10-1 Diamondbacks lead. Diamondbacks lead at 10-1 as the A's come to bat in the ninth inning, and our Bank One player of the game, as only voted upon by Bob Brenly, a former catcher. The winner is
Kelly Stinnett right there. 3 for 4, a couple of runs scored, a couple of RBIs. He threw out a runner at third base, swept up the stands. He's going to launder the uniforms after the game and help out in the parking lot.
Boy, you just can't talk enough about the job he has done this spring. And you brought it up earlier, Bobby. You know, we heard a lot of good things about Kelly Stinnett, most notably from another former teammate of yours who is the assistant to the general manager Sal Bando with the Brewers, our buddy Bob Melvin, and what he thought about Kelly Stinnett. And the Diamondbacks plucked him away from Milwaukee along with Joel Adamson, I might add, and that appears to be a battery we may see in the starting lineup not too far into the season.
I'm sure Kelly Stinnett will get his share of playing time this year. You wouldn't figure it to be a straight platoon system, but once again, you know, none of this stuff is carved in stone with the exception of a few positions. But you know, should Fabregas happen to stumble, get off to a slow start, or have trouble throwing, or whatever the case may be, I'm sure Kelly Stinnett's going to get an opportunity to play more regularly.
Diamondbacks have a new pitcher on the mound. Another fellow we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast today, trying to win a job on this team. And that is right-hander Greg Olson. Danny Ordoin comes on to bat here in the ninth inning. And Olson has had a mighty fine spring, although he says that curveball of his has not been breaking as sharply as he would like to have it.
Well, the way I look at it, that is a bonus. If he's been able to pitch as effectively as he has using a fastball and a changeup, when he does get the feel for that good curveball, he's really going to be something to watch. I mean, he had the best right-handed curve in baseball for years when he was the dominant closer in the American League. Just a tremendous overhand curve, what they call a 12-to-6. If you picture the face of a clock, the ball would break from 12 o'clock straight down to 6 o'clock. Most guys' curveball have some kind of a sideward movement, maybe a 1 to 7 or 1 to 7-15 or 20 to 8.
7-15. What does that do?
It kind of starts down and then comes back up. Hey, we had a guy with the Giants early in my career that said he could throw a double breaking curve. Come on. He said he would aim it right at the batter's shoulder. It would break once into the strike zone. The batter would start his swing and it would break a second time. Guy by the name of Alan Folks.
Bouncing ball down to third base in the dirt. And it goes by the first baseman Brent Brady. And advancing on to second base is Danny Ordoin.
A tough play here all the way back, about as deep as a third baseman can get. Backhand the ball, the long throw across the infield. You can see that ball came up as it bounced. A lot of times you'll see that throw skip and stay down. That's a much easier play for the first baseman to make, but that particular time the ball hit the infield grass and came up very high for Brent Brady.
Batter now Jason Giambi. And he takes high and away for a ball. Hensley Mullins is just taking over at third base for Darnell Coles, and there's a fastball high and away. So Mullins hung with the air. 2-0 now to Giambi. Diamondbacks leading by 9 runs here in the 9th inning. On the outside corner, a called strike. Very good Diamondbacks pitching here today. No two ways about that. Willie Blair, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. Only walked 1 batter while fanning 3. And then Buck Showalter turned to Russ Springer. 1 perfect inning, struck out the side. And now Olson, who should have had an out a moment ago, but didn't on the air by Mullins. And there's a base hit into left field. Advancing on to third is Ardoin, and the A's have runners on the corners with nobody out.
Well, with the big lead like this, you'll give up a base hit in the 9th inning. You can see Greg Olson was trying to work Jason Giambi almost exclusively away. If he's going to beat you, make him beat you to the opposite field, and Giambi did just that. Just took that fastball on the outside corner, slapped it into left field for a base hit.
Shane Mack now the batter, 0 for 3, reached on an error by Andy Fox, the shortstop, back into 7th inning. Diamondbacks trying to put this one away, leading 10-1 in the 9th. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Hey, you know, I've been wondering who do the Diamondbacks have as their back boy here today? I've seen that young fella somewhere.
I don't know. He's an awful good-looking kid, though, I tell you.
Sitting down there in the corner. There he is.
Mouthful of sunflower seeds. He's going to spit them on that kid's hat. That's my boy.
Michael Brenly. Boy, you really trained him well, Bob. Well, a real nice kid.
Well, he's about as happy as he can be, not only to be here bat boying today for the Diamondbacks, but he got drafted by the Diamondbacks in his Little League. And I'm telling you, every kid in the Phoenix area wanted to play for the Diamondbacks.
I understand Michael is quite a young slugger already.
Well, he started switch hitting this year, and he hits better left-handed than I ever hit right-handed. So he really loves the game of baseball. He's out of school next week on spring break, so he came down here to Tucson with Dad. We're going to be watching baseball for the next 3 days.
There you go. 2-1 the count on Mack. Runners on the corners and nobody out here in the Oakland 9th inning. Been a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Tucson. On the ground, foul. And your daughter Lacey, Brenly, just finished up her high school basketball season recently, isn't that right?
Yes, she played for the junior varsity team at Xavier High School. They had a very successful season. That was very exciting to watch, I'll tell you. I could go behind home plate in an all-star game, playoff game. I was never more nervous than I was watching her play hoops.
Off the end of the bat, fly ball short left field. Coming in is Darnell Coles, and the runner will stay put. Good throw back to the third baseman and the cutoff man Mullins by Darnell Coles. 1 down here in the 9th.
A good pitch by Olson right there. Got the hitter Shane Mack off balance. He wasn't able to drive that ball into the outfield, just kind of flipped it. That turned it from a routine fly ball to left field to a shallow fly ball, not enabling that runner to tag up and score.
Mark Bellhorn will now come on to bat. First time he's been sent to the plate today. Runners on the corners, 1 away. We're in the 9th, and the Diamondbacks with a 10-1 lead. Good block there by Kelly Sinnett, who's had just about as good a day as you could ask for.
He really smothers that ball in the dirt well. A lot of catchers, I mentioned this earlier in the broadcast, they look very mechanical trying to block balls in the dirt, because that's basically what it is repetition. You do it over and over and over again in spring training. Even during the season, you'll have refresher courses in blocking balls in the dirt, but some guys just do it instinctively.
And what a difference for a pitcher, Bobby, if they're aware that they can throw the split finger or the curveball or the slider, whatever it may be, and have confidence that catcher is going to block it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, for example, if you happen to run the count to 2 strikes here on Bellhorn and you want to throw him a breaking ball, you don't want to throw it for a strike. You want to throw it down low in the strike zone, hopefully get him to swing and miss it. If your catcher's going to block that ball in the dirt, a pitcher has much more confidence to go ahead and snap off a good curveball and bounce it in the dirt.
2-1 the count on Bellhorn with runners on the corners and one away in the 9th inning. Diamondbacks a 7-run second, and they lead by 9. Diamondbacks trying to get a 15-13 in Cactus League play. There's another one in the dirt, and again handled beautifully by Stinnett.
I tell you, that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I'm going to throw my body in front of this ball, and there's a proper way to do it. I mean, there's proper fundamentals in doing it, and to think that you have less than a half a second to get your body down on the ground, cover all the holes where the ball might go, and then just sit there and let it hit you and do all that in less than half a second, that's very impressive to me.
3-2 now on Bellhorn.
I usually just try to get out of the way and hope it hit the umpire.
Right.
That's why I like working in front of those great big umpires.
Hey, speaking of umpires, Doug Harvey here today before the game. Just getting over a bout with cancer, and he's licked that, which should come as no surprise to many who remember the one-time dean of National League umpires. Boy, he still looks great. I know you have a funny story involving Mr. Henry. That's a fly ball into left field. This is going to bring in a run. Darnell Cole's a catch. Tagging and coming in to score is Ardoin. And that makes it a 10-2 ball game. But how about Doug Harvey? You remember that one play?
Oh, absolutely. Very quickly, we were in Yuma, Arizona for a spring training game against the San Diego Padres. They had very bright infield dirt, very light colored infield dirt. And as you know, in Yuma, the sun just bakes. And it was so hard to see that day that most of the players were wearing eye black, not under their eyes, but completely around their eyes, just to try to find some relief from the glare. And Andy Hawkins threw me a slider on the outside corner, called strike 3 to end the inning. Went in and put my gear on, came back behind the plate, caught the warm-up pitches from my pitcher, and turned around and asked Doug. I said, Doug, you sure that pitch was on the corner? He said, son, one of the red seams caught the edge of the black. I don't belong in this league. One of the red seams caught the black. I couldn't even see the ball. What are you talking about?
Well, Doug Harvey would know, right?
Yes, he would.
They referred to him as God at one point in his umpiring days. There's a roller by the mound. Should in the ball game. Fox on the first, and it will. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error in the 9th inning. The Diamondbacks have won 3 in a row after a 4-game losing streak. And terrific pitching again today by Blair Springer. And had it not been for an error in the 9th inning, Olsen would have had no damage done. So, Bobby, 1 more week to go before Bank One Ballpark will open in an exhibition game against the White Sox. And then it's on to opening day a week from Tuesday against Colorado. We'll be back in a moment.